Hello, fellow snows, hoes, ugly blokes, and millennial jokes, and welcome to the Bastards of Gaming podcast, episode number 11. I'm your host with the most, Xizor, joined by my co-host, the maple syrup to my French toast, the walker to my muty psycho, SynthR. Alrighty, I guess that's how we're starting the podcast this week.
Do you have mini eggs in the States?
Mini eggs?
Okay, so you have no idea what these are. These are the best. Cadbury mini eggs.
Yeah.
Oh, you have them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a candy chocolate aficionado. I do have the occasional Cadbury egg. I can't really place what the mini egg is.
So the mini egg is like a small egg. It's like the chocolate from the Cadbury thing wrapped in like a hard candy shell. So it looks like a robin egg.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking delicious. They've been selling these forever, and they only sold them at Easter. And I guess they got greedy, and they just sell them all year round now.
Well, it doesn't sound like you're eating this. It sounds like you're just munching on some chips there.
No, it's because it's a hard candy shell.
You do know that you're committing the first cardinal sin of podcasting, which is fucking eating on a hot mic.
I don't care.
Okay.
But we're talking about what I'm eating.
Well, I mean, you know, it is partially a food cast at some point, but
at the later half. Okay, fine.
I mean,
fine. You want to go to the next topic then? Fine. Okay. So I've been updating our YouTube channel, and it's been a bit of a pain in the ass, but I'm getting there. I've uploaded like 10 videos in the last week, and I have like 50 more because of the music episodes.
Okay.
That's it? That's all you got to say?
I haven't been by there to check out our channel in a while, so I'll have to see what you've been doing.
Oh my God. I'm glad one of us is dedicated to this.
Hey, you're the one that couldn't record for 2 fucking weeks, motherfucker.
Well, I got shit to do.
And you start fucking munching on food.
I got shit
Cadbury
to do.
Eggs.
I'm having Cadbury eggs because I just got home. I wanted some Cadbury eggs, man. My day was shit so far.
All right. I've had enough of this. All right. So the topic of the week this week, what are the worst things happening in gaming right now? All right. We're also going to have a small news section this week talking about the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer, new Mortal Kombat movie in production, new Ghost Recon, and the new Death Stranding trailer that dropped today. After that, it will be the what the fuck we're playing this week, which will be Rage 2, Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, Dynamite Fishing World games. After that, we'll move into the Q&A section as per usual. And just to let everyone know, we're available on all free podcast platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Music, and tons more. Just search for Bastards of Gaming. And if we're not on a platform of your choice, let us know and we'll make that happen.
Are you part of the Bastards community? No? Well, join the fucking conversation and engage with us by liking our Facebook page at facebook.com/bastardsofgaming. Each week, we share your thoughts and feedback on our show. Subscribe to us on YouTube and rewatch clips from past episodes. Simply search for Bastards of Gaming. Lastly, we would love if you could leave us some honest reviews on our Facebook ratings page or in the podcast platform you use to listen to us, such as iTunes. Those reviews will go a long way in helping us build this podcast and community.
All right, small news section this week, boys and girls. First, we'll be talking about the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer that dropped a couple weeks ago. So what did you think about it, SynthR?
It looks hot. I'm so excited for it. I'm kind of upset that it's going to be like part 1 of, who knows, probably like 5 parts to this or whatever. But I'm really happy with what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think visually it looks really cool, and I'm glad they're sort of updating the gameplay and everything like that. I'm just a little concerned about how this is all going to play out, because I'm wondering how much of the original game is going to be in there. Like, are they literally going to remake everything, like scene by scene, line by line, every side quest, every town, is there going to be a world map? Is it going to be, I mean, you know, I just don't know what exactly they're going to do. The episodic thing It makes me a little bit worried about it because Squaresoft, or in recent years, doesn't have a very good track record of finishing games on time at all. Even Final Fantasy VII remake was announced like I think 4 years ago now.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
And it was taken away. It was taken away from the original team that was making it and brought in house at Square. So I'm just a little bit concerned because, again, like Final Fantasy 15 took like 10 years to make or something like that. Kingdom Hearts 3 took forever to make. And I just don't know. I just don't have a lot of faith in Square Enix anymore to do anything. Like I'm pretty much done with them as a company for the most part. This is like literally the only thing that could get me excited to buy something from them again. But I don't know. At the same time, I'm not really I'm oddly not precious about this remake. Like, there's going to be some of those people out there, and I get it. And I could definitely fall into that camp of, you better not change a fucking thing, not even a line in this, But I don't know. I'm oddly not precious about it in a way. Like, I'm kind of just interested to see what they do with it. I think you just have to have the main story intact and a lot of the most important parts of the game. But like I said, I don't know if you start taking stuff out or you don't have this and that, if it has the same impact,
Well, there is a chance that they'll never finish this in our lifetime. You know what I mean? Like it is possible that we'll get like 3 parts to it, and it kind of just ends before like any of the real cool shit happens near the end of the game. But I'm on board with whatever they give us. Like I'm sure the main story is still going to be there. I don't care if side quests are missing or if like the extra stuff where you like go out and you find the Knights of the Round and all that stuff, all those materia. I don't care. I'm along for the ride. Final Fantasy VII was an epic game. We have that already. So I'm just interested in seeing what they do with this. I don't care if it's like word for word faithful or not, like you seem to be.
Well, like I said, I don't know if I am that way though. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to like kind of gauge because I could go either way on it. Because right now my feelings are I would be fine with them just doing whatever, but also it could be one of those things like once you get into the mix of it and you realize how different it is from the original in terms of dialogue and story beats, and maybe this cutscene isn't here, or maybe we leave out this whole part of this, and then suddenly it doesn't really have the same impact. It doesn't feel the same.
It probably won't. Like it's the same with movies, right? They remake it, they change it, and it's never quite the same. So
yeah, but I mean, we have like the greatest example is the Resident Evil 2 remake from this year, where they remade the entire game, updated it, modern graphics, modern gameplay, and it was a fucking huge success. So it can be done. But I mean, this is a huge RPG.
This is an overhaul.
It's a little bit different,
like especially with the combat, right? So it's like a new game.
Yeah, I mean, plus it's not even just remaking it with updated graphics. I mean, you're talking about like everything's gonna like character models, 4K textures in this bitch. Like, it's not gonna be these static screens, that you just sort of move through. It's going to be a fully 3D world that you can like presumably look around in and go around in. So it's a huge undertaking. And quite frankly, I don't know how you can pull this off. And like I said, I have almost zero faith in Square Enix to be able to do this. But at the same time, I am excited about it and I am interested in it. But I just don't. I mean, it could be another 5 years before we see this thing. But what do you think like would be the good way to like sort of roll this out or break this out? Because I've heard a lot of people saying like the first episode should maybe be like Midgar, the whole Midgar section of the game. Yeah. Like that would be a good like episode 1 or part 1. But then like how do you just sort of roll out the rest of it? Like is it going to be like 5-part game or like 20 parts or like what the fuck?
It's we don't know what we're looking at when we see the trailer. It could be just Midgard. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's what it seems like. Everything,
sure.
But everything in there seems like it's from the beginning of the game so far. Like we haven't seen anything beyond Midgar, as far as I remember.
Sure, and it would end with them like getting out, and then nothing really happens when you get out for a bit. You're like you go out and you like help some people, and eventually you get to Cosmo Canyon or whatever. And I don't know if that would be another break point, or if it go further than that, where you get to I forget what the town's called, like Nebelheim or something like that. Or
Yeah, I
like,
can't remember.
like where you get there, and that's when you start seeing flashbacks of Sephiroth burning down the city, or it takes you to where you meet Sid for the first time, and he's making his rocket ship. Like where I don't know where you would stop it. There's or maybe it would go all the way up to where Aerith dies. You know what I mean? Like that's it. Like in that area, or I don't know. There's a few logical places to break it up. I don't know. I never really thought about it, but the end of where you leave Midgard probably is the most logical thing, because a lot does happen in that first part.
I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. But it's interesting. But like I said, I don't have a lot of faith in this being what we want it to be. And I don't see this satisfying really anyone other than just like, oh look, it's Final Fantasy with better graphics. I don't know.
Well, people are already complaining about Barrett's voice.
Yeah, well, we don't want to get into that because that's some stupid shit. So this new Mortal Kombat movie, to be honest with you, I didn't really look that much into it. So what were you thinking about it?
I don't know. I'm all for it. I'll watch it. Hopefully they're not as cheesy as the other ones and as like horribly acted and produced. Like there's charm. Well, I don't know. I kind of want something a bit better. Like we had, what was the Mortal Kombat series that they had not too long ago? It was like a 10-part thing that was on the internet.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched that in a long time. I kind of forgot about that. Honestly,
shit, I forget. Was it Legends?
I honestly don't remember. I barely remember that.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up quick. So just Legacy. That's it.
Okay, yeah, I haven't watched it in so long. I honestly don't remember anything about it. I just remember that it exists.
Yeah,
what was so good about that? I don't remember.
I don't know. The production, the action, everything was great about it for something that wasn't on a huge budget. And to me, that's what this new movie should be. Not like cheesy ass shit going on in the throughout the whole story with like here's Reptile, here's all the different like ninjas, and it's like so corny, and then here's Goro and Johnny Cage gets his sunglasses destroyed, and it's just like ha ha ha, so funny. It's just I don't know, I think it should be more serious and still have that like kind of dark humor to it, but not so like campy and awful like the other ones were. Like I love the other ones, but they're just I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen the second one in a while. I remember that one being like actually like bad. Like,
yeah, that was
really
bad.
Like the first one was kind of like cheesy bad, like 90s movie, action movie bad, but like fun and cool. Because I actually watched that last year. I hadn't seen it in a long time. I watched that last year, but yeah, I remember especially that dragon sequence at the end.
Oh man, like the CG in the movie is awful. They're all.
Well, wasn't it like claymation or some shit? I don't even remember.
No, it was CG.
The worst thing. This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Yes, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I would rather them. I hope this just like comes out and it's like really fucking bad. To be honest, I don't know. I just don't. I'm not precious about Mortal Kombat anyway. But
well, neither am I.
I would want it to be on the cheesy side. Like I said, now that I've seen what you can do with a storyline, having just played Mortal Kombat 11, because of the nature of being Mortal Kombat, I mean, you have to sort of like there has to be a level of cheese to it. I just feel like that has to be in there.
Sure, okay, the cheese can be in there, but the production cheese, like I want the production to be significantly better than what it was. It deserves something better.
Yeah, I don't know.
In my opinion, anyway.
So moving on, so the new Ghost Recon was announced, which I only put that in there because you know me and I'm super fucking excited for this. This was actually going to be one of my predictions for E3, that they were going to roll out some kind of sequel or whatever to Wildlands. So the fact that they dropped this before E3, it was a bit of a shock to me. But this was actually going to be one of my predictions. So I'm pretty excited for this. I know we played a little bit on Xbox last year. So I don't know how excited you are for this, but I'm super fucking excited.
I look forward to playing it, but I'm burnt out on these open world checklist games. Like I hope it's not coming out anytime soon. I didn't check the release date because I need October. A break. Oh my fuck!
It's October.
I need a break, man. I need a break.
Well, I'll probably pick it up on PC and play with my best friend, and then you can just pick it up whenever after the fact, and I'll just buy it again on Xbox or something probably.
Oh, we can get Megan to play again too. Well,
so I'm pretty much the only one excited for it, which makes sense, but you know.
Well, it's funny that they changed the setting because of all the bullshit that happened in the last game.
Yeah, there was so much complaints about, you know, them misrepresenting Bolivia and making it seem like it was just a drug country and everyone there was kind of shitty and all that stuff. And I'm like, people just get so up in arms about the dumbest shit. So
Well,
yeah, this takes place in a fictional island in the archipelago. Was it the what do you call those islands? Archipelago? What are they called?
I don't know. I don't think I could say it either.
Yeah.
Archipelago? I don't know. Fellatio. I think it's archipelagios.
Yeah, I can't believe we can't pronounce this word. Of course, I don't have it in front of me. Maybe if I could see the spelling. But yeah, it's
archipelagos. I think it's archipelagos.
Yeah, archipelagos. There you go. But yeah, so it takes place on a fictional island, and the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about this new one is it has like a lot of the sort of techie stuff to it. It's like you're not just fighting these sort of like normal dudes. Because like I said, the way I like to play the last game was me and my best friend would just sort of go in like old school Ghost style without using a lot of the gadgets, and you would just sort of take down the people. But now you have all that. Now it's kind of like the Division 2 when you get the Black Tusk at the end, where they have all these like weird fucking robotic things and stuff. And I'm just wondering how that sort of plays into being stealth, because it seems like you're going to have to like really focus on those things and like take them down. It's not going to be like when you're just shooting a dude like one shot in the head and stuff like that. But there's a lot of cool mechanics going on in this. Otherwise, like I like how you can pick up bodies and move them around now, and like you can pick up your teammates and carry them back so you can revive them instead of them just like laying there. I think it's kind of neat. There's a lot of little small things that I don't know. I'm kind of curious about the whole survival elements to it, where supposedly you're going to have to like eat and drink water and stuff like that to stay.
It's going to be an afterthought.
It probably, but there's stuff like you can get like permanently injured, like falling down something, and where you actually have to like bandage yourself up. And I don't know. I've always wanted like elements like that in the game. Like I feel like no one's ever made the sort of type of survival game like I would want. Like I've played some of these, like DayZ and some of these other ones, and like they all have like cool elements, but no one's ever really done it right. So I don't know. I'm not counting on this to be that game either. But
I've always wanted stuff like that too, because I like in racing games, if you hit the wall and your tire gets fucked up, you shouldn't be able to just have it instantly repaired. You should have to drive the rest of the race with that. I always like that sort of thing where there's damage and you have to just adapt and deal with whatever happened to you. But yeah, that's a cool idea.
But other than that, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of information, and like I said, it's not the most exciting thing to anyone other than me. So there's not a whole lot to talk about with Ghost Recon. But I just wanted to mention it because, like I said, I'm super excited. But the next thing was, I guess was it this week where a gaming disorder was officially recognized as a disease by the World Health Organization. And so
cool.
I just don't. Yeah, cool. I guess. I mean, otherwise known as an addiction. I don't know.
It's like I said. It's like what I said. Like you can be addicted to anything. So what's the difference? You know what I mean? It's not the video game that's causing an addiction. The person has that addictive behavior towards something. So,
yeah, I mean, you have someone could be addicted to reading books. You just like, I'm into these books and I just read them all the time. It's like, what we got a book disorder now? Like, I don't know what this is.
Reading disorder. You're not allowed to read.
Put down the book, Timmy. You're reading too much. Get outside. Play some damn video games. Yeah, so I don't know. There's not a whole lot of information about it, and quite frankly, I just don't find it that fascinating. I think it's kind of stupid, but I just figured it was worth bringing up because, everything's a disorder or something these days, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big thing that dropped today was the Death Stranding trailer with a release date of November 8th. I mean, I've been excited for Death Stranding from the beginning, I think, like you have.
Yep.
But this trailer today, like, really finally sold it on me, just like hardcore, like super excited for this. Now we finally got to see what some of the combat sort of looks like. Looks like some melee combat, and then there's that one part where he's like shooting a gun. Looks like he's like in like a World War II setting. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
It looked like when you can kind of see the other side, like where, like whatever, like the death side or whatever. He was walking through like the actual like World War II, and like people were there, and he was in between worlds. But the tank looked real. I don't know where the tank came from.
Yeah,
so I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, so I'm curious what that. I mean, I think we have maybe a clearer picture of what this game is kind of going for now. I mean, you have, like you said earlier when we were talking before we started recording, like they have the bridge baby? Isn't that what
it's called the bridge baby.
And so that's what I speculated before, where it's like connects you to the other side, whatever that is now. But now he says we can go back in the past, and yeah, you see him in a World War I or World War II setting. I guess it would have been World War II because
the vehicles, and stuff,
the vehicles, yeah, which is not the most. In a way, there's not the most interesting setting to put a video game in. Like, we need another fucking World War II setting in a video game.
You're fighting in the trenches again. Yippee.
Yeah, I mean, in that sense, it's kind of a little uninspired, but everything else in that trailer is crazy. But yeah, so I don't understand what like I said, my speculation before was that Baby sort of connects you to the other side of, like, death. But they also mentioned that it's Hades, but they also mentioned it's, like, going back in the past. So I'm a little bit confused, like, what's happened here.
This is Kojima. He makes up crazy paranormal shit, right? Just like
yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah. But there is a lot of, like, fire and brimstone-y kind of stuff whenever it shows these past, segments of the trailer. But I mean, I don't know. What did you think about certain elements of it? Like, what kind of stood out to you?
I'm just really interested in the story. Like, the gameplay looks all right. Like, it just looks like Metal Gear. Like, just the way it plays. Like, it's kind of slower, like hand-to-hand, close quarters. You kind of run around and people chase you, so it's more realistic. And I thought it was cool that you can put out, like, a ladder and you can climb up on the mountain. I don't know why you're climbing up the mountain, but you could do different stuff. Like, you can rappel down the side and do these, like, neat things. Like, you're just, like, roaming around, exploring, or trying to get from point A to point B. Because it seems like your character's, like, delivering something somewhere. Like, he's like a postman, right?
That was the only thing that threw me off a little bit, though. It's just like these things like the ladder and the other thing just kind of... I mean, it's like every video game does, but it just kind of, like, appeared out of nowhere. Like, it's just in his inventory, and then, like, boop, all of a sudden there's a big ladder on his back, and then you can, like, stretch it out to be, like, fucking 30 feet long. And finally, I'm just like, this is a little weird. Like, it's the only thing that, like, sort of felt video gamey.
Yeah, but the Metal Gear games are like that, too. It's like all of a sudden he's got a box. Like, boom, there's a box. Yeah.
I know. I'm just saying, like, it has, like, a weird grounded feel to it, or just, like, in whatever setting or terms or rules are in this alternate universe here. But yeah, it's just like the little video gamey Metal Gear kind of stuff. It was a little silly, but that's a video game. It's not a big deal. But yeah, some of the combat was, like, a little strange too, where he's like, you see him get hit in that one part, and, like, something falls off his backpack, and then he, like, stops to pick it back up, and then he's swinging that little briefcase looking thing. At the one point, hits the guy, and then you see it, like, fall on the ground, or there's, like, another one appears on the ground. I don't know. There's some mechanics and things I don't really fully understand, which of course we're not going to have knowledge of everything that's going on here. But yeah, man, all the actors and all the sort of cutscene looking parts and everything else is really interesting and just looks goddamn cool, man. Like, honestly, this is one of the fucking coolest video game trailers I've ever seen in my life, to be honest with you.
I'm interested in the story for sure. It is so, like, odd, weird, strange, and it just, I don't know, I just want to see where it's going. Like, I want to get into it and just figure out, like, what the hell is going on, because I love that sort of thing.
Yeah, I definitely think this is going to be one of the biggest sort of entertainment events of the year, at least in terms of gaming. So I'm looking super forward to that.
You're president of jack shit. Topic of the week. Okay, so this week's topic is, what are the worst things happening in gaming right now? And I should put a disclaimer and say, according to us, because we didn't put it out there to anybody else, which we should have, but we didn't. So who gives a shit? So you can start us off with one of the things that you fucking hate about gaming right now.
Well, I was just going to kind of go down the list of things we have here. Well, I mean, we both agree that Fortnite is literally the worst thing happening in gaming right now.
Yes.
And all the sort of Me Too stuff that's come out of that. Everyone trying to make this Battle Royale game or add a Battle Royale mode to every fucking game. We're in a different era when games like Call of Duty are not the industry leader of what's cool anymore, and they're actually copying Fortnite and this Battle Royale thing. Battlefield 5 even has a Battle Royale mode now. Yeah, I don't really care about that stuff for the most part. I mean, Fortnite is dumb. It's annoying. I can ignore it. I just don't play it. And all those Battle Royales, like, it just seems like a genre that I would be into. And I kind of like certain things about it. Like I kind of liked Apex, but I kind of didn't. I kind of like PUBG, but I kind of didn't. I just don't think this is my genre really. But I don't know. It doesn't really bother me too much. It's out there for some people, I guess. So
I think Battle Royale games are here to stay. This is like the new game mode that's going to be in everything. Just like Deathmatch. You know what I mean? It might even take over Deathmatch.
Well, I mean, it's not even a new mode. It just for some reason blew up with the way PUBG sort of rolled it out, which I just don't, like I said, it's fine. We've had last man standing modes in games forever, but yeah, it is going to be a staple moving forward for sure.
So what about free-to-play games? Because for me, I've played a few in my time, but usually it's very like vapid. Like I get over it so quickly because there's gates, right? You got to like spend money to keep going. And there's been very few games that I truly like that were free to play. One of them being Path of Exile, which is an action RPG. And to me, that's like the best example of like a good free to play game. Another one would be Heroes of the Storm. But other than those two, for me, I've never really liked free to play games. And like the mobile scene is just, that's all it is. It's just all fucking free to play games. It's like a modern day arcade where they just wanted to keep dumping in coins to keep going, keep leveling up your player, and it keeps getting harder and it just escalates. And it's just, I fucking hate this trend of free to play games.
I mean, what's so bad about it? Like, I only really find it offensive on the phone, like on the mobile side of things. I don't really care about it on console. It's just like another thing. Like, I just typically don't play those games anyway, so it doesn't really bother me. And I feel like the console versions or sort of console free-to-play games aren't the most egregious examples of this. The only ones I played were, like I said, I played a little bit of Apex beginning of the year for like 2 weeks. And I played Warframe for a little bit, wasn't super into it. So there hasn't really been a free-to-play game that really grabbed me to begin with. It's not something egregious or offensive to me. I don't know. Free-to-play games exist. I don't play them. Like I said, they're only bad on phones, in my opinion. So I don't know. It's just not something that bothers me.
Well, I'll agree that consoles are fine for free-to-play games. Like, you could totally ignore them. There's not too many of them. But for me, like, free-to-play came out, and then it gave birth to, like, Fortnite. You know what I mean? And that's all anybody fucking plays. So for me, who's been a lifelong gamer, and I try to talk to people that are playing games and whatever, and they're like, oh, all I play is Fortnite. I just, like, it's almost like me versus them now. Because it's like they're a gamer too, but they only play one fucking game. So I can't even have a conversation with them because they play this, like, super simplistic game that we've seen for years that's evolved into just, like, now you fight 50 people or 100 people at the same time or whatever. It's just, I don't know. I think it's probably the evolution of, like, the Call of Duty player base anyway, but I don't know. There's different, like, factions for me of, like, or like tiers of gamers, and I'm not in the upper echelon. I'm not saying like I'm amazing or anything, but like I play everything. I have the knowledge. I know the trivia. I could talk about anything to do with, like, the game industry and all that. But when somebody's like, "Oh, you game, bro? Oh man, bro, I play Fortnite, bro. You play Apex, bro," and it's just like, fuck off. You're fucking annoying. Like, you're not a gamer. Get out of my face. You know what I mean? Like, it just pisses me off.
Well, you're the one being an asshole. I'm usually the one that's an asshole. No, I get what you're saying. We've always had those people. You always had the people that just played Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty and Madden. We've always had those, like, gamer dude bros that they just play, like, the cool bro shit that's, like, super fun and, yeah, man, it's the hot shit. But to be fair, the Battle Royale genre was kind of kicked off by PUBG, which was a game. And Fortnite wasn't even a Battle Royale game when it launched.
Yeah, that's true.
But the key to its success was probably the free-to-play thing. I'm just kind of surprised it hasn't actually died off, because, like, Apex is, like, not doing very well now. Kind of... Yeah, I've heard, like, a lot of their player base is dropping off. A lot of the people that stream these Battle Royale games, like Dr. Disrespect and stuff, they're kind of, like, over it. Some of them have gone back to, like, PUBG and playing a little bit more Fortnite. But, yeah, so I don't know. It's just, like, like I said, I don't really care. Like, if a game's free to play, that's fine. And all these people that do their own thing, I mean, I think we're starting to see, as we get older, as video games are getting more broad and more people are playing them, it's definitely not like it was when we were growing up, where when you told someone you're a gamer, like you all felt like you were a part of this like unique sort of cult of like people that were all had very similar interests and played similar games, because there weren't as many games back then, and we all kind of played the same things. But now, I mean, you can have all these different people that just play different things, and I don't really identify with a lot of gamers these days, to be honest with you. I mean, because there's just so much stuff to play anyway. And then, like I said, I'm not even into this battle royale stuff. I don't really get into multiplayer games that much anymore. And so, yeah, it's just different factions. We're just a different breed, and we're just kind of into different things because we're older and we came from different time. But other than that, yeah, I don't know. You're always going to have the youngins in their damn thing. Like I was the same way when Call of Duty came out and everyone was playing Call of Duty, and I'm like, fuck these people, man. Call of Duty sucks. So I don't know. But at least we're always going to be that old man standing on his porch yelling at the damn Fortnite kids and their floss dance.
But at least there's a barrier to entry. You had to buy the game. Now it's like nobody buys their kid any games. It just comes with like a Fortnite new player package, and they just bought the console that it came with, and that's all the kids playing. And because it's free. Yeah. It's technically free, but then the kids buying all these fucking skins and dance emotes. So
yeah. I don't know. I'm not as hateful about this as you are, apparently, which is
I'm not as much hateful as I am interested in wondering why it's so popular. Is it because it's free and people are fucking cheap, or is it because it's social and accessible and people are just picking it up, so their friends are picking it up, and then another friend picks it up, so they're playing together because it's free. No one has to spend $60 or $90 Canadian or whatever to get this fucking game.
It's just every decade or so, man. There's like the one thing that comes out. It was Halo before, and then it was Call of Duty, and now it's the Battle Royale thing with like Fortnite and all that stuff. It's just.
But what about the player base? Like, how many people played Halo? How many people are playing Fortnite? That's what I'd like to see, those numbers matched up.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I swear, since it's free, it's out of control. I know it. I know because it's free. People are playing it.
To me, the amount of people playing it is not that surprising. It's that it's still fucking popular that's surprising to me. Like, people have not moved on from this yet, because like I said, some people have kind of moved on from PUBG. That's always going to have its player base, but like Apex is not doing very well, and I don't really know about a lot of these other free to play battle royale games. But I'm just surprised, that people are still invested in Fortnite. But it's whatever.
Fine. Fuck Fortnite. I fucking hate it. Ever since that kid in the store walked in front of me as I was looking at garden hoses and started doing the floss dance and just repeatedly did it while I was trying to look at something, I was like, fuck this game. Fuck.
Yeah, well,
like, it's ruining our kids. These kids are so stupid. They're so fucking dumb. Oh.
Well, I'm with you.
Oh, I'm mad.
I'm so mad.
I'm fucking furious now.
But I have a weird relationship to the floss dance, in that, like, I'm guessing it came from Fortnite first, but since I wasn't playing it, I don't know. My first interaction or experience with the floss dance was actually in Destiny 2. Like, I remember unlocking that dance, and for like a month, that's all like Magnum and everyone else wanted to get, because I would just be doing that floss dance everywhere, and we all thought it was hilarious, and I loved it. And then Fortnite fucking ruined it.
I don't know if Fortnite ruined it. I think it existed a little bit before Fortnite. I don't know the origins of it. I don't give a fuck.
But yeah, as far as where it came in the games, I can't tell if it came up in Destiny first or it was Fortnite. I would have to go back and look. But like I said, that was my first experience seeing it, was in Destiny 2, and I thought it was hilarious, and I thought it was fun. It was my favorite emote to do in Destiny. But then once like it became like a thing where everyone was doing it, and it was all associated with the Fortnite children, then I was like, oh, fuck this shit.
I just want like my child and other kids to not be fucking dumb, because I feel like I wasn't dumb when I was growing up.
Well, you shouldn't have had a kid.
No, my kid will be fine. But when I see other kids, they're just so brain dead because of these fucking games. Like, maybe the disorder thing that just came out for video games is like legit. Like, they all need to be medicated now.
Well, you're saying that, but your kid is not old enough to be out there like socializing and doing things like playing Fortnite. So don't worry, you're gonna hate it eventually. I feel it.
All right, let's move on from this. Let's do microtransactions.
So
This is another
I don't
thing.
know.
I don't find these too bad either, because I don't spend a lot of money after I've purchased the game. There's sometimes I'll buy extra things. I don't normally buy DLC because I'm already done with the game. But it's in every fucking game now. Every game has these nickel and dime shops set up to just get new shit, more XP, more gold, different shoes for your fucking player that you don't even notice when you're running around. Like, it's just it's out of control.
Yeah, I mean, microtransactions don't really bother me either. Like I said, I don't really spend anything. It's only, we've discussed this on the podcast, I believe, before. But it's only if it's a game that I really like, and I feel like I just want to show the developers a little bit more appreciation. Like if I've put like 50 hours into a game or something like that, and I look at the store and there's like this cool armor or something, maybe I'll buy it or whatever if I'm really digging the game. But yeah, for the most part, I'm like you. By the time DLC rolls around, most of the time I'm done with the game, not going back to it, and I just don't really care about all this other stuff. Like I was dumb last year and bought the whatever Ultimate Edition fuck off thing for Far Cry, where you got like the 3 DLCs, and then I never went back and played them, even though they look kind of cool. So I don't bother with that stuff. But I mean, it can be a very egregious thing. So the example I had written down here to talk about as far as this was what started all of this hoopla about we might have to put loot boxes and shit, make laws and fucking shit around this, was when Battlefront 2 came out, and it was literally the most horrendously bad sort of loot boxy pay to win bullshit that I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know if you played that game or if you were familiar. I'm pretty sure
I read about it.
Yeah, there's no way if you were following games during that time you weren't aware of what was going on. But just to break it down, they had these things in the game called star cards that you could earn through play, but could also be bought with real money. And they basically add buffs to your character, so you could literally pay to be more powerful in the game. I think some people estimated that if to play to get all this stuff would take 4,000 plus hours to get most of the stuff just through normal play, or you could spend about $2,100 on loot boxes. So it was just really bad because, I mean, unless you were playing day one and you were dedicated, there, like, for you to pick it up after the fact, you're going to be coming into a game where everyone is more powerful than you just right off the bat. So you're going to be at a disadvantage. And so it's just horrible. And then you have like different individual character classes in that game that you would have to level up individually. But that also fed back into the problem of like, well, I don't want to like mix and match the different characters that I'm playing because I want to level up one so I can get this one character more powerful. So it kind of even limited the way you would play the game, because you would kind of maybe stick to one character class for most of the time you were playing to level it up. So it really didn't benefit like casual players, which sucks. And I ended up buying the game. I pre-ordered it long before it came out. It's one of those like ones I really wish I didn't, because I was excited about the single player, which is also pretty trash. And I never even bothered touching the multiplayer. You know, I played the first Battlefront for, I don't know, 2 to 4 weeks on the PlayStation 4, and it's not the greatest multiplayer experience, but it was pretty fun, and I would have loved to play more. But once I saw all the stuff they were doing with the multiplayer with this pay-to-win shit and all that, I was just like, I'm not even touching this. And I know they made it better over time, but this was just one of the most just awful things that's ever happened. Like, this is like the full end of the scale of just like the worst things you could do to ruin a game with microtransactions and loot boxes, which, you know, sort of led to like there's been a lot of stuff in the last week about this. Let me find it here. So like Senator Josh Hawley was trying to introduce this bill to the United States Senate that would ban loot boxes and pay to win microtransactions in certain games, which are trying to sort of it's called the Protecting Children from Abusive Games Act, and the wording suggests that it will target sort of games played by minors. And this is like one of the discrepancies about it, where it's just like, I mean, most kids play like mature games or whatever. Like, how are you going to know? Like, every game is you're probably going to have some minors that get a hold of it, whether it's a sibling that's older in their house or parents that just don't give a shit and buy them whatever. So I don't know how you would really enforce this. And like, is it up to developers to determine if they were like aware of like, oh, we didn't know minors were going to be playing our game? Like, of course they would be. So there's just like a lot of weird things with the wording of this. But there's been other countries that have, declared loot box stuff like, like gambling, basically. Like it's illegal in Belgium. It falls under like gambling laws and stuff like that. So there is some precedence for this, but I just think it's kind of crazy that it got so, like this Battlefront 2 thing got so out of control that like politicians started paying attention to it, and this whole like gambling aspect to it, which I don't really fully agree with. I don't know. Like, what do you think about all this?
I think what EA did is horrible business practice and so exploitive. You know what I mean? Like, it is so unnecessary to just like, it's almost like you built a game to just fleece people of money. You know what I mean? Just like fleece them right the fuck down, get every penny out of them, because they're going to get addicted to this, and they're going to get addicted to the game loop, and they're just going to want to keep spending money or get further ahead because other people are further ahead. So to catch up, they're going to spend money, and they're just going to it's horrible. It's just a horrible business practice to even take it that far, because people don't have the self-control, or a lot of people don't even have the time to keep up with like their friends or keep up with other people, because people get jealous. People see that other people have stuff they don't, so they're going to go out and go get it too because they want to be noticed or seen, or they don't want to be made fun of or whatever. So it's like this, there's this pressure, this undue pressure to try and catch up or to perform or to like be as good as everyone else. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's playing on people's psychological issues.
Yeah, but I think we had to get here to like see what the edge looked like, and but I don't know. What do you think about the sort of laws being built around this? Because we've always had the sort of the ESA, the Entertainment Software Association, which is supposed to be like the people that sort of lobby on behalf of video games, at least in the U.S., so that the government doesn't get like fully involved in video games, which I'm all about that, but. So what do you think about, the fact that some of this stuff is like borderline like gambling? I just don't know if I fully see it that way, but I get the argument for it.
Loot boxes are gambling. I agree that those are, because you don't know what you're getting. There's chance involved. So that's gambling. And I think when it comes to minors or younger players, even teenagers who like don't have their own job yet and are using their parents' credit cards and stuff, these companies are preying on those people. Those like, and some people are whales, as they're called, right? Where they just spend so much money on these like stupid fucking free to play games, and they're just throwing money like crazy to keep this game afloat. And it's predatory. I think laws should be passed for it. I don't know the age limit or how you would set that in place to like prevent people from having this happen to them, like, because you can always have an adult who's not paying attention still give a minor the stuff, just like they would give them that video game they shouldn't be playing, or renting the movie for them, like back in the day for us, that we shouldn't be watching, or whatever. Like, I don't know. I think something needs to be done about it. I've never experienced it because like my daughter's way too young and we grew up with it, so we're older. And I haven't heard anybody's family get completely destroyed by like some loot box controversy, but I think something should be done about it.
Yeah, well, I think as long as I think it should be more on the side of the console makers and the game makers to have maybe even like parental controls in some of these games, like stuff where you could set. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff here, like I said, because I don't have kids, I don't look at this stuff, I don't know anything about it. I know some of this exists. But I don't know about for stuff like this, but making it where you couldn't, just buy something on a credit card, even if there's a credit card tied to like an Xbox Live account that your kid's playing on or something like that. If you could just restrict it where nothing could be allowed to be purchased without a password that only the parent would know or whatever, I just think there's other ways to go about this, because there's part of me that's like, I would love the government to fuck these stupid game companies like EA into the ground over this shit, because fuck them and these stupid practices. Mm-hmm. But also, I don't want the government getting involved in video games or really anything. So I'm kind of two minds about it. I'm trying not to be sort of on the emotional side, just like, yeah, pass these fucking laws and fuck EA and all these other motherfuckers doing this shit. but I don't think that's the right answer. And I still don't feel that a lot of the politicians that are sort of pushing this and involved in it really have the bigger picture or the full scope of what all this means. I think they're just being told stuff by their constituents and some of their people that work around them. There's a lot of secondhand stuff, because I don't know if you read that interview on Kotaku last week where Jason was basically interviewing that I guess it was Senator Josh Hawley about this, and he seemed to just like he was invested in it, but it seemed like a lot of secondhand sort of accounts of things, and like I just didn't feel like he was the right person to be sort of pushing this forward. I don't know.
Well, something needs to be done, and if this is just starting out and it's going to pick up steam, I'm all for it. Yeah,
well, this is one of those examples of consumers pushing back, and I think whatever happens from this, because now you're seeing EA and a lot of these other companies, even though they still have microtransactions and stuff in their games, they're at least pulling that back a little bit and knowing that gamers aren't going to put up with this shit, because like basically every game EA talks about now, like the first thing they say up front is like there's going to be no microtransactions, or it's only going to be cosmetics. We even had, like, when Apex came out, like the reason they didn't even announce that game before they dropped it was they didn't want the baggage of being an EA game. And so everything you see, like when Respawn's going to be coming out with that Star Wars game later this year, the first thing they said was like no microtransactions, like literally none. This is a single player game. You buy the game and that's it. So it's like they have to come out and say this stuff now.
Well, what was the game that said it wasn't going to have microtransactions, and then it was slowly introduced after? Wasn't there a game that did that? I can't remember who did it.
Oh, there's been a lot of like people. There's a lot of egregious business practices going on now. Like these companies not sending out review copies to these establishments, so they can't like review things before it's out. I can't remember the exact game that you're talking about, but there's been a few that have done that. Like even Red Dead did that to a certain degree. You know what I mean? Like they said, like, oh, well, the multiplayer's in beta, so that would be so all the reviewers would review it like very high and be like, well, this isn't finished yet. And then I can't remember. I guess Red Dead did have like day one microtransactions, or did it? I can't remember now. I should know this. I really should.
No, it didn't have the gold shit. The gold shit came later.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, but I couldn't remember. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people doing this kind of stuff now.
Because in Red Dead, what happened was everything was super fucking expensive in the catalog. Like things were like insanely priced, and it's like you got to play forever for this shit. So they changed some of the pricing in it to make it more accessible. But then I think around that time, that's when they started introducing the gold bars. So that was like after the fact. So maybe that's the example I was thinking of. I don't remember, but it's just so dirty.
Yeah, like, I think Call of Duty's done that too, and
like fuck off.
I feel like it's a lot of this stuff now where people want to get that high Metacritic score when they release a game, and they want to have like glowing reviews. So they're holding back on rolling out this stuff. So yeah, that's another problem.
Well, then you have people just bombing, like review bombing shit when something happens.
Yeah, which is so dumb.
Yeah, that's dumb too. It's equally stupid. Anyway, let's move on from that stuff. I like loot boxes as long as you don't have to pay for them. I like the randomness stuff. If you can earn everything in the game and you have loot boxes on top of that to give you extra shit, then I'm for it. As long as you don't have to pay and as long as it's not bullshit.
Agreed.
All right, so something that I don't care for, I don't know what your take's going to be on this, but like major players in the gaming industry pushing for things to be digital basically are essentially killing like physical ownership of games.
Yeah. I mean, this is a huge problem as we're moving into the digital era is what do you actually own? Like
I get why they're doing it. I get they want more control. They can control the market, how much things are selling for, because like you can go on Amazon and get a game that's been out for maybe like 2 months for like 60% off, but the sale on like the Xbox game store would only ever be like 40%. You know what I mean? Or it's even more than that. So I see why they're moving toward digital, and it probably saves developers and stuff a lot of money to not have to print physical copies. But you've run into this in the past, and you've mentioned on the podcast, where the second the service goes down or you can't connect to the internet or whatever, all the shit that you bought that was digital is gone. You can't access, you don't have access to it anymore. It's just gone.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge problem. I mean, that's part of the reason why I have an external hard drive hooked up to my Xbox. So every game I buy, I'm just like storing them on there, and I'm not deleting them. Now, some of that stuff is not going to change whether you need internet access to be able to play these games. But yeah, I mean, it is a problem, and we're just getting to a place where some of these games, because they're more multiplayer focused, if you don't have people playing it, the game's essentially dead. And but that's kind of a whole another topic. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not totally down for this digital shit. I mean, most of the time it doesn't matter. It's just a case by case thing for me. I still buy physical as much as possible, but I mean, you're buying a physical disc and you're putting it in, and it's downloading at least part of the game, if not most of it, from the internet anyway. So
yeah, it's true.
I don't know.
I like to own like the actual copy of stuff. Like I like to hold it. I like to open it. I like to put it into my machine. Having something digital just feels like nothing. It's like air.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't actually have anything.
I mean, I'm the same way. I just I can't get over that collector mentality that was just apparently something from our generation, that we just grew up collecting toys and action figures and baseball cards and whatever else. And so, I feel like that's just like becoming a relic of the past as we're moving digital. But there are occasionally some benefits. I mean, some of these digital sales are usually pretty good. And also a little lesser known thing that you can do with the Xbox in particular, and you can do this with like Steam games and stuff, like where they have the Steam sharing, where you can share your account with other people and play games. On Xbox, if you account share with someone else, you can play all their digital games basically. So like if I logged into your Xbox, or you logged my account into your Xbox and set your Xbox as my primary. Okay, so I'm getting confused trying to explain this.
Figure this out.
All right, so you would take my account, put it on your Xbox, and set my account as the primary account on your Xbox. And so then I would do the same thing with your account, where we would have both accounts on both Xboxes, but I would take your account, put it on my Xbox, and say, this Xbox is SynthR's primary Xbox. And then me and you can play each other's digital games. So you can game share like that, but you can only do it with digital games. So there's like little weird benefits to digital sometimes like that. I
didn't know about that. I wonder what the criteria is for that. Like, how many systems can it go on? Like, what happens if...
I think it's just two. It's only two. Because basically, you would just share it with one other person. So, like I said, me and you would be sharing each other's games. So it's only between two people. But I have quite a few friends that do that.
Oh, sounds sexual.
Yep. It's very sexual. So I don't know. It could be something we should experiment with that one day. But
you won't play anything that I have.
Well, I mean, it's just like I said. I don't know how much your stuff is digital, and it's probably stuff that I either already have or I'm interested in. I don't know. There could be a use case for it. The one thing I don't remember though, which I think this is true, but like on Steam, if you do the game sharing thing, like the person can't play, like both of you can't play the game at the same time. It has to be either or. But I think on Xbox, you both can play the game. So I don't know.
Oh, that's weird.
So that might be a way in the future. Like if there's a game that one of us buys, it's maybe even co-op. Like almost like we did with that A Way Out, where I bought one copy of it and we both were able to play it. I don't know. It might be something to look into.
They had that set up for that though.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying like that would be like, it would be like how that experience was essentially.
Okay, so here's something that's totally new in the last few years, where developers have been changing things due to fan outrage, because everybody needs to voice their opinion now, so that when the consumer speaks, everyone needs to listen.
Yeah, which is a double-edged sword, because I feel like there's a lot of faux outrage out there, a lot of people like that are full of shit, and a lot of people with bad opinions and bad ideas for how games should be. But at the same time, there's always examples like, as we've seen, like, even though it's not a game, sort of game related, when we were talking about Sonic last time and how they're redesigning Sonic. I mean, it's a movie and it doesn't ultimately matter. But there are examples. I mean, even getting back to what I was saying earlier with Battlefront 2, like all the outrage over the microtransaction of that, like that's a proper outrage to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's too many examples of the other where it's just people being stupid. And I don't have it pulled up right now, but I don't know if you saw the stuff going on with this Catherine re-release game. Do you know anything about that?
No, I think I heard something, but I've never played the game. I didn't read the article.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't following it like super close, but I don't know. Are you familiar with that game at all? Did you play it before? It was like a 360 and PS3 game.
No, I
never played it either. But I don't know. Apparently, there was some outrage over something being transphobic. Like people misinterpreted a translation of a line from like the Japanese game that's going to be, or the Japanese version, I think. Like I said, I don't have all these facts in front of me here, but it was something that was like not true, and like there was all this outrage on Twitter about this thing, and people being like, "This game is transphobic," and so it wasn't even true. It really was like the line or the character situation was just mistranslated or something like that, and people went crazy, and so they changed something for absolutely no reason. And then you saw after the fact, people just being like, this is really not what happened. This is really not what the character said, or like the implied character development point. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have it in front of me. I wasn't following it super close, but it was one of those examples of just people being stupid and ready to just have their pitchforks about anything, especially when it comes to transgender issues and gay people and all that other stuff. Like they're just ready to like strike about that kind of stuff. Like any hint of being homophobic or transphobic or anything like that, the people are just ready to strike about that stuff.
It's ridiculous because I'm an ally, like I want these things to be brought to light. It's just the few that are ready to just cock the pistol and just they're ready to go at any second to just like guns blazing. Like just relax. Like I don't have time to like go to war every fucking day over everything. You know what I mean? Like my life is annoying and stressful enough than to like take up arms over some like ridiculous labeling of something or misinterpretation or a slip of the tongue or whatever. Like there's no forgiveness either. Like the second somebody says anything, like they're burned at the stake. Like it's a witch hunt again. And I think people need to calm down and just be like, look, we need to be civil about this. And like, if someone's an asshole, fine. Just don't blow it out of proportion. Just they lose their job maybe over whatever they did if it's necessary or whatever. I don't have a good example, but like it's just everyone's nuts about this shit, and then journalism takes it to a whole new level by reporting on it constantly and like stoking that flame and getting people riled up for the outrage, and it's just exhausting. It is so fucking exhausting.
And that's going to be a whole nother topic we're going to do at some point of like games journalism and all these outlets and stuff like contributing to this faux outrage. But the other example I was going to give, and I don't remember the game, and I should have had all this written out beforehand, but some of this is just coming to me in the moment. But do you remember that PC game from like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago? It was like a crowdfunded RPG or something, I think.
Leisure Suit Larry?
No. But it had like trans characters in it. And people were saying like, it was offensive to trans people, but come to find out that some of the like sort of highest backers of the game got to write their own stories for the game. Yeah, so it was actual trans people writing their own personal experiences about being trans, and it was in the game, and people were outraged because they didn't know. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about right here. Like, you don't even know that that's a trans person's experience, so why are you fucking getting all up in arms about it? It was like literally a trans person's stories contributed to the game. I
love those stories. You know what I mean? Like, it's like justice served. Like you're a fucking idiot and you got handed.
Yeah, that's the best because it's over and done immediately. Yeah, because you can't really argue that. You can't argue with them, so it's just done and over with, and you look like a fool. And this is why people just don't pay this shit any attention, and we all just sit around and mock and laugh at this stuff anymore. And it's a shame that we can't take these issues seriously anymore because everything is a fucking issue now.
It just reminds me of like a dog sitting at the window, and the second anybody walks by, it just starts going berserk, barking at the person. And then calms down. Like anything that comes in their view has to be attacked or barked at. Anyway, so I have some other examples here. A really old one, Mass Effect 3's ending. Remember that shit?
That's a good one. I feel like that was like ground zero for the beginning of the shit in a way.
I feel like that was one of the earliest, maybe one of the first. And of course it's EA. EA's involved in it, but it was interesting. Like the ending of a game had to be changed and patched in to fix it.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the end for BioWare, I think. I don't know if they really ever... I mean, I guess people like Dragon Age Inquisition, all right, but I feel like they've been sort of on the downturn after Mass Effect 3. But yeah, I remember that being a big...
EA getting involved. That's what it is. I don't think it's BioWare's fault entirely. It's just they got someone else's hands up their ass.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I blame EA for this one. This was, I mean, the creators of the game put in that terrible ending is their fault. Okay. I mean, it was to me, I don't know. We could go into a whole discussion, and it's not fresh in my mind. I don't really remember the ending too strongly. I just remember being everyone. It seemed to be kind of universal that it was not good. So that was one of those where it's like, I don't know. I kind of went back and forth on it. Like, I didn't hate the ending. I also did not really like it at all. But I'm kind of one of those people that usually sides with the artist and a lot of this stuff. Like, you shouldn't be forced to change your art because other people sort of think they want to take ownership of it. Like, I get that we all went through this 3-game story arc with a character that we were really invested in. And given the nature of, it being an RPG that we were all super... into, like, I get that you do have some ownership over your character and you wanted all of your choices to matter at the end, but at the same time, just like getting mad at a bunch of people and saying like, no, change your story. I didn't fucking like it. Like, even though it was bad, I still don't like that mentality. I don't know. What do you think about that?
We've talked about it before where people are just too fucking entitled and they got to say something about it. And like art, it's like you said, art is art. It's up to the person or people who created it. You're along for the ride. You consume that art. You don't tell someone to change their fucking painting or to like if someone's building a house to like lay the house out a different way. You don't tell an architect to change his design. That's his fucking work. Unless like you paid him to do it. And like, I don't know. It's just, it is so strange.
Yeah. Well, but this is kind of an interesting way we can sort of, we don't have to right at this moment. We can sort of segue into the last parts of this topic because this is sort of an interesting way to bounce to the different things. But I feel like this also was sort of the beginning of game developers listening to fans more, but like in a way that sort of leads to, like the early access games. Like, oh, we just want constant fan feedback the whole time so the fans can help us make our game, which is not a bad idea. I'm not shitting on that. But I feel like that was sort of the beginning of game developers not being confident in the products they're putting out, and very warranted in some cases. I mean, people are putting out trash that's clearly egregious business practices and games that aren't finished and all this stuff that's unbalanced. But I feel like that was sort of the beginning of this era of like crowdfunded games and early access games and all this kind of stuff where you're creating the game alongside us and all this other stuff. So I don't know.
Okay, so we'll talk more about early access in a second, but I had some other examples here. You'll love this one. And that is, if you'll remember that Peter Dinklage voiced Ghost in Destiny, right?
Yeah.
And then they fucking hired someone else and re-recorded all that character's lines because Peter Dinklage just like phoned it in. Like that. Yeah. That to me is hilarious.
That's one of the funniest. That's one of the funniest things that's ever happened in video games, in my opinion. Because, in my opinion, first off, Peter Dinklage, great actor, love him on Game of Thrones, but he's not like a voice actor. That's the first time that I recall him doing a voice for a video game, and not. You have to take into account the fact that Destiny 1 was a huge dumpster fire to begin with. Like, that game was cut up and rearranged and went through a horrible development cycle. Like, the game was literally like completely rearranged and changed like 9 months before it came out. So I'm sure in a different context, like some of his lines maybe made sense when the story was different or certain things about the game were different. But I feel like they just sort of like mix and match a bunch of like, missions and like, okay, well, now you're going to this planet first instead of this planet. So I feel like a lot of his lines were just like put up in a blender, and like so they probably. I just feel like he probably didn't have great direction, and he wasn't like known as a voice actor, and he probably had no clue like the material he was working with, and I don't know, it just like it made like of course it made more sense to have Nolan North come on after the fact, like after they already know what the game is, and he can like brush it up a little bit and like polish it up and yeah, that was a crazy thing, but I don't remember it being an outrage. It was just like one of those things like people like just made fun of it though. But yeah, I guess it was enough where Bungie wanted to change it, which is just insane to me. Like I don't know, it was kind of endearing in like a shitty way. Like that wizard came from the moon. Some of the other stuff he would say is like fucking famous line. Like they literally sold T-shirts with that fucking phrase on it in the Bungie store.
Yeah, it's a strange example. And it's probably just easier to hire someone to re-record things so the story makes sense again than to try and like go through all of Peter Dinklage's stuff and fix it. And he's busy doing other shit that pays him way more. So why would you even get him back to do other stuff? He didn't care to do it too much, or he just couldn't get into the character of a flying robot thing. I don't know.
I think that's why they finally killed off Cade 6, like Nathan Fillion's character in the game, because they had to bring him back every time they did new DLC or a new game, and it just became a issue of like he's a real actor with real jobs. Like he likes his video game stuff, but it's difficult to get someone like that back in the studio every time you're putting out new content, especially if they're a major character. Mm-hmm. But the story of Destiny has always been shit anyway, so I don't know why anyone gave a fuck to begin with.
Well, it's unfortunate.
I know people like Magnum are all into the grimoire and the like outside of the game shit that's way more interesting than anything in the game. But it just seemed like a dumb thing. It's like I don't feel like it really helped the game in any significant way to change the voice actor. I don't know. But it's kind of weird that like I'm sure there's playthroughs on YouTube that you can find. But I think it's also just kind of funny, and this sort of almost kind of ties back into the digital thing where games are patched and stuff out now. But you can never play a version of Destiny with Peter Dinklage's voice in it now. You know what I mean? Like it's just erased from time, basically. Like I said, I'm sure there's plenty of YouTube videos, but like it's just a weird thing where that's just a version of Destiny that you can never play. So I don't know.
Yeah, because it's online, right? So it's impossible to just play the disc version. It would just get patched instantly. So yeah, you're right. So another example is the outrage Call of Duty got for like continually going in the like advanced modern warfare direction. And what ended up happening was they had to go back to like the World War II setting because there's a trailer on YouTube that was getting like insane amounts of dislikes.
Which that to me was like dumb, in my opinion. I think most people tend to like the modern warfare side of Call of Duty. They don't really like all this weird sci-fi running on walls. So I think a lot of people also don't care. Like oddly enough, that was like one of my favorite Call of Duty games like ever was Advanced Warfare, like or at least the single player. I didn't play the multiplayer. I don't ever play the multiplayer in those games. And then even the World War II one that came out a couple years ago, the single player of that was fun to me. So those were oddly enough like some of my favorite Call of Duty games. So it's like two different ends of the spectrum there. But yeah, that was just kind of a weird outrage. Like, how dare it be too sci-fi in the future? How dare you?
Like, we've had enough. We've had enough of this fucking line of thinking with advanced shit. We want to go back to when there was nothing and guns were inaccurate. But in a video game, they're fucking perfectly accurate all the time.
I mean, at a certain point, like I kind of get it. Like, you can get a little bit too much.
Sure.
With like for like Halo, for example, like a lot of people like this game, and it's my least favorite. But I don't like Halo Reach, like especially the multiplayer. And it's because they try to make it too Call of Duty-ish, and like they had loadouts and like different, like you played the Spartans versus the elites, and it just sort of changed the game too much, and it didn't have the same like Halo feel, in my opinion. And like so, I get like changing like a formula that works too much. Like now that sort of 343 has gone back to like sort of the roots of Halo, and there's still people out there that don't like Halo 4 and 5. I'm not one of those people. But I get it. Like, you're going to keep putting out a game annually, year after year, like Call of Duty, which literally has had like, I don't know, a game every year since like 2003 or 4, I believe. And so, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like at a certain point, you can't keep fucking with a formula that works. So I get it to a certain degree. I mean, I've been there. I wasn't happy with some, like I said, decisions that were made with Halo. Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like a weird thing to get like super up in arms about. But I don't know.
I don't like the reskinning of games, especially like that's why I'm not a big sports game guy, but to me, like they could easily just patch the game every year so that the lineups and teams change, because the game doesn't fundamentally change every year. It changes every like 4 or 5 years, where like the mechanics are different, but it's the same fucking game every year.
Yeah, well, there's been people saying that for a long time now. Things should just be a product you buy every like 5 years or once a generation, maybe a couple times a generation, and just update them. But I don't know. I guess they still want to try to sell you that $60 game every year. You know.
Well, it's.
I mean, 'cause we're even seeing this with Call of Duty. Like even last year, you know, they had the Battle Royale mode, but they also took out the single player. And then I think for a little while, you could just buy the game like piecemeal. Like you could just buy the multiplayer or just play the Battle Royale mode, I believe. But there's always been talks about, should we, you know, have more of a, like break out the different parts to Call of Duty and sell them individually? Or should we have like the Battle Royale mode be a thing that's like on its own over here, and then we just kind of update that every year? Because it's like, if they're coming out with a new Call of Duty this year, are they going to have like another Battle Royale mode? Because the way the Battle Royale games work now is they just add new maps. Like they're not coming out with like Fortnite 2, you know what I mean? Like they're not coming out with PUBG 2. So I don't know. There's a lot of discussion around that. Yeah.
So my last example is kind of an interesting example, because I know what bucket we fall into, but with Red Dead Online being in beta forever and just coming out of it now, and the amount of hate that it was getting for Rockstar basically adding more deathmatch showdowns and shit, when all we wanted to do was like fish and hunt and just be cowboys, and they still really haven't added any of that shit into the game. And when you read the comments, everyone's like, this game's fucking Red Dead already, and like we're done, we haven't played this game in months. Like it's just weird that Rockstar's like, okay, whatever, we're just gonna keep riding forward, as it were, and keep releasing shit because you know people are gonna play. But everyone's still pissed about not being able to be an actual cowboy in that game, which I'm mad, because that's what the game is. The game should be a cowboy simulator, not another fucking battle royale deathmatch game.
And they still never addressed the auto aim, so fuck that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I get it. I don't know. We've talked about Red Dead enough on this podcast. It's not worth going into. None of us are happy with it. That's why none of us are playing it anymore. And you know, maybe in 6 months, a year, 2 years, if they keep updating it, maybe it'll be something worth sticking around with again. But yeah, not happy with it. But we said
the same thing for GTA 5, because we were there forever and they never added the heists or anything else, and we never went back when they eventually did put it in.
Yeah, but that was a thing where it crossed generations too. That was a problem with that. True. I think we all would have like went back to that, but some of you guys went to PS4 immediately. I had PS4 and Xbox, but played more on Xbox, and so like our whole player base was split up. So that's why I think that's ultimately why we never went back to it.
Could be true. So we kind of already talked about the journalism one. Like I said, that's going to be its own topic at some point, because I have a lot to say about that. So over the years, we have no shortage of controversy in the gaming industry, and I think we've had quite a few poor choices in regards to spokespeople who speak for the player base or speak for certain aspects of the gaming industry, and you either love them or hate them, and it sparks so many things, like with Gamergate and like Anita Sarkeesian over the years and stuff like that. But I know there's been some more recent crazy people, as it were, that have been saying some shit, so I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, so there was the producer or whatever from DICE, can't remember his name, tried to look it up real quick, couldn't find it right off the bat. But he was out there saying when there was all that controversy last year about Battlefield 5, and was the game skewing too far into a sort of alternate reality version where you had like the woman running through with like mechanical arm, and I don't know, it just seemed like very sort of weird and out of place for a World War II game. And people had some concerns, some of them really stupid, some of them very valid. But basically the producer was out there, you know, saying all this stuff about, oh, if you don't like the game, don't buy it. And, you know, I just want my I just want my daughter to be able to play this game, and I want her to load up a game and not have to say to me like, Daddy, why isn't there a female playable character in here, and all this stuff. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm not trying to get too much into the social justice angle here, but I'm just saying there's people out there like this guy that was not a very good spokesperson for Battlefield. He definitely didn't do anything to sort of garner fan, positivity and sympathy and stuff like that. So that was kind of one example from last year. And then he ended up, leaving the company. He just like pieced out, I think, pretty close to the game about to come out, because he was just like, fuck this shit. He already had like millions of fucking dollars anyway. But the most recent example of this is like the ongoing saga that is fucking Randy Pitchford. Holy fucking Lord, this dude has just been on a roll for the past like 2 months. I swear to God. At first, it started with the whole thing with his law. Well, first it started when he was apparently given an advance of like millions of dollars. Is like there was supposed to be a bonus to the Gearbox team and for Borderlands 3, and so there's people out there saying that he like kept that money from himself and put it into a different fund and didn't actually distribute that amongst the other people that work there. And then there was the whole thing that came out with him and this other co-worker / lawyer that worked with Gearbox, and they had this whole thing where they were kind of going back and forth at each other. And there's this whole thing where a thumb drive at a medieval times that had like company documents and like really serious game related information on it. And there was also a porno clip of a girl squirting or something like that was like on there, and there was some speculation of whether she was underage. I think it was just people trying to smear him. And then he was on stage when they revealed Borderlands 3, and he said that there's no microtransactions in the game, and it literally came out the same day with some of the journalists and stuff talking to other people on the team that there's microtransactions, but they're just cosmetic. I kind of think maybe he misspoke, and like he just kind of was on stage and just didn't say the right thing. I don't think he was really trying to deceive people, but it didn't make him look good. And then like literally just yesterday, I believe, or the day before, he put something up on Twitter that was like a animal cruelty video where there was a crab and a cat. I didn't watch it myself because there was a cat involved. I'm not watching that shit. Where they're like pitted against each other. And he just had some like really cryptic thing to say about how like he has a lot of mixed emotions about watching something like this, but he thinks it's valid or something we should like talk about it. I don't know. It was just like phrased in like a really weird way, and people were just absolutely dogpiling him over this shit. But you could even go back all the way to Aliens Colonial Marines and the fucking clusterfuck that was also circled around him. And it's just like everyone's excited for Borderlands 3, but this motherfucker's probably gonna cause some people to not buy the game because he just can't stop being a fucking dickhead about everything. And it's just kind of crazy. So he's definitely, I don't know, he's quite the character. I'll say that though. But man, he's not a very good spokesperson for Gearbox. I don't know, dude. What do you think about Randy Pitchford? Have you followed any of the stuff?
I know some of the stuff that you talked about, and it's just ridiculous because he's fucking loaded. He's got money. He doesn't need to be there anymore. He can basically say whatever he wants. It's like Elon Musk. You know what I mean? Like he could fucking say and do whatever he wants, and it doesn't make any difference because he's already got his money. And it's just a shame.
Yeah, it just like, I don't know. It's kind of weird though, because I feel like most people that has done the amount of shit that he's done would have been fucking booted from the company. Like it's weird that sort of 2K is just like kind of let him continue to lead that studio over there.
Well, people have been fired for significantly less.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying in the days of online outrage that we live in now, like he just seems like someone that would have been fucking axed a long time ago. I don't know.
Who knows what goes on behind the scenes? Maybe the damage control isn't really as bad as it might seem, and they just leave him there, or nobody else wants to replace them. I don't know.
And then the other thing I forgot, because like I said, literally like 8 things have happened with Randy Pitchford in the last month, is the whole thing about the voice actor for Claptrap, the old voice actor. They're apparently going to have a new one because he had a dispute with the old one about pay and all this stuff, and then it came out that that voice actor is saying that Randy Pitchford assaulted him in the lobby of a hotel one time, stuff, and it's just wild, man. Like some of it, I feel like, especially when it came to like the sort of legal thing with him and the ex Gearbox lawyer, some of that seemed like a smear campaign to me. Like some of that didn't seem like accurate. It just seemed like, of course, you're going to say outrageous things about the other person because you're taking them to court. But yeah, I don't know. He's a fucking character, man. And it just seems like that train is not going to stop before Borderlands 3.
Man, I'm a good person. How come I can't make this kind of money? Like, what's wrong with me?
He's a magician, bro. That's what it's all about.
Okay.
He's making that money disappear into his bank account.
All right, let's talk about games releasing unfinished. And
yay!
No yay. There's nothing yay about this shit.
Yeah, no, this is probably my number one on this list of things. Like, this is a huge problem for me. But go ahead, I'll let you start this off.
So sometimes I'm just like, whatever, I'll play the game anyway. But the one game that happens to just piss me off, and I'm still mad about it, is Fallout 76, and how like half baked that fucking game was, and it's just. Wow. And it's still going, and they're still updating it, and they're still adding things. And it's when I read about the stuff that gets added in, it's like you guys still kind of miss the point of the game. Like you guys don't get it. So the game is like a huge failure. And like, I don't know. I think you still have it, and I think you want to revisit it, right?
Maybe one day. I still have it. I should have traded it in before the value of it plummeted, honestly.
That's what I got rid of mine like right away. I only had it for like a week, and I was like, this is no thanks.
I could probably get $350 for it at GameStop. I don't even know if they'd take it, to be honest.
Trade it in on a double credit day.
Okay, I'll get $7 for it.
$7. Yeah. And like I can't even like just talk about that game like anymore. I can't talk about it. But the other game was Sea of Thieves. When it first came out, we were pretty psyched about it, and we had our fun with it. We've told an awesome story about one of the greatest moments in history, gaming history for us. And it's just, I think now it's kind of where it should have been, but it's almost like early access, you know, where you get people to beta test your fucking game. But they bought it. They paid the full amount for the game, and they're telling you that your game is shit, fix this, fix that, and you're fixing it. And eventually a year later or whenever, the game is where it should have been when it was launched. You know, it's just I'm just tired of this shit with certain games. Not every game is like this. And like we're going to talk about Rage 2 later on, but Rage 2 pissed me off. So you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat with that. I have fucking notes galore on how much I hate that game. But
well, I can't wait for that.
We're gonna have a back and forth confrontation on that probably. But just like, who the fuck greenlights these games? Who the fuck gets it to a certain point and is like, yeah, just put it out there. We've been building it for 3 years and it's still a piece of shit. We need to get some return on investment. Like, fuck. Yeah,
well, it all comes back to these like quarterly quotas they need to make for investors and like all this shit that fucking ruins everything. And I understand, like, at a certain point, these publishers and stuff can't keep pumping money into these games for like another year or two, but at the same time, an unfinished game is not going to make you any more money than a finished game. You know what I'm saying? And it just keeps happening time and time again, especially if it's like a online games as a service game. I mean, it's just pretty much doomed. Like, Red Dead came out with shit, still shit, probably gonna be shit for a while. Fallout was shit, still gonna be shit for a while. Anthem came out with shit, still gonna be shit for a while.
No Man's Sky, shit, remember No Man's Sky? How bad that was? Oh my god.
Yep, that's still a work in progress. I mean, even the Division, their fucking Division 2, the end game of that, just fucking is so bad now. It's so dumb. Like, that was such a near perfect game when it came out. I was so fucking in love with it for that first month and a half or so. God, I could not get enough of that game. But once you hit that wall at the end, man, it's just like, I don't want to fucking play this game at all anymore. And they just have not fucking done anything positive to the end game of that. So I'm pretty much just done for a while on that. But yeah, it's Destiny was shit. Destiny 2 was shit at one point. All this stuff, man, they just keep releasing these games broken and unfinished. And, you know, like I said, if it's a single player game, I'm probably going to buy it. there's not too many examples other than sort of Days Gone recently. When that came out, it has some minor problems at launch that they've been slowly like patching in. So you can't even count on single player games always. But yeah, it's especially the multiplayer side of things. It's really bad. But this is my number one gripe with the games industry right now. It's just not unfinished games, just and expecting people to pay $60 for $60+ sometimes for some of this shit that's not fucking finished. And that's why I'm just, not really into pre-ordering games that much this year anymore.
Nobody buys a game for it to like mature into this like amazing experience. I don't buy a game for it to be better in 3 years, 2 years, whatever. So I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I'm not going to pretend like I do. I'm sure like there's money involved. I'm sure someone's like, we're hemorrhaging money because it's just the development time's too long. We got to send this out. Or like shareholders are getting pissed, or I don't know. Like it's just maybe games just take too much manpower and it's just not feasible to always put out a AAA title. You can have humble beginnings and think you're going to be releasing something in 2-3 years time that's going to be amazing when it goes gold, but maybe it's a lot harder than people think and they miscalculate and there's missteps or people get fired or leave or horrible leadership and they don't make the right decisions. I don't know, there's probably a lot of things going on, because when we were kids, when you got a game, that was it wasn't patched, you didn't go get a new version of it, nothing. You just if the game was shit, it was shit. And you were just stuck with it. And we all had games that were given to us or bought that were absolute garbage. But games back then are different from what they are now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing about that argument is like I get it, but at the same time, like games are just totally different. There's way more manpower and shit involved in these games now, and I don't think that's always a valid argument, because I think games are just completely over the top now. So yeah, but that doesn't excuse anything. I don't know. This is just my biggest gripe.
So this kind of goes into early access, and we've kind of mentioned a couple things. So is it good or bad? I think it's good in certain scenarios for developers that might have a small development team, or it's just one person working on a game. They're not going to have like a people to test it for quality controls or to just like come up with stuff. So I could see early access being good for like the smaller indie titles, but for like Bethesda to put out like Fallout 76 and expect everyone to play it and beta test it for them, because it wasn't even beta. Like I felt like the game was like in between alpha and beta when they released it. It was just, it wasn't there. And Sea of Thieves had like the sandbox aspect, but it was missing tons of content. And it's like, oh, well, we'll release that later. It's just, I don't.
Yeah, well, part of the problem too is that like there's no realistic timeline for when these things are actually done. And like even though some of these developers will sort of give you a roadmap, as it were, for what they plan on doing, it seems like a lot of these games like that are in early access and have been for years, like there's a lot of hype around them. Like I just remember when DayZ came out. And I mean, I haven't looked into that game in a while, but I remember just like the game never became what it was supposed to. So everyone that got like invested in that, even after it was officially released, it still was not done. And so some of these things just like trail off. Like once people lose interest and the player base dies down, like the game never becomes what was promised in the first place. You know what I mean?
Well, the players have had time to play the game, so they're already exhausted with what you gave them. So what's adding like 1 or 2 new things 3 months later going to do to the player base? It's not going to reinvigorate it. People are going to... You need to get them invested like day one so that they stay. And it has to be like the best product you can have. Not like over time. Over time, we're going to fix it. We're going to build it up. You're going to lose people. Not many people are going to jump into a game that's 5 years old. And not many people stay around.
I'm sure there's some examples like... I'm not really close to this one, but I just remember hearing about it at the time. Like whenever Final Fantasy 14 came out, and they like just completely rebuilt the entire game, and then people loved it after they did that. Like I don't remember the timeline for the initial release, and then when they like kind of shut it down, it was like we'll come back with something better. and then they came back and everyone loved it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only kind of like example I've seen. There was a lot more interest in No Man's Sky once they started adding the updates. I remember a bunch of people started picking it up again last year. But yeah, there's not too many like positive stories about this working out in the long term for a lot of these games, of just like 3 years later, this is finally the game you all wanted.
Like there's already 3 years worth of other great games that we're playing or haven't gotten to yet. So you missed the boat, you know what I mean? Like you've been washed away. You're gone. You're done. You missed your opportunity.
Yeah, other than the VR update to No Man's Sky, I have like zero interest in ever going back to that game. But like I said, the VR would be pretty fun to just fuck off on these planets in virtual reality. But the only example I have, because I'm not the type of person that really gets involved with these. Like I never really crowdfunded but 1 or 2 games. And I never really got involved in the sort of early access stuff too much. DayZ was one of the only ones I ever did. And then the other one was Wreckfest.
I was looking forward to that game too.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's not worth playing, but it's kind of, this is like a weird example. I saw that game like all throughout its development cycle. Like I played it very early on. Like I didn't jump into the initial wave of funding for it. It wasn't until they actually put it on, I can't remember if it was when they put it on Steam and you could actually just pay for it. I think it was maybe when I jumped in. But I played the earlier versions of it, and to be honest with you, I liked the physics and the feel of it earlier on. Like I felt as they kept refining it, like it kind of lost the thing that made it really special. Because I mean, I still have screenshots of it on my computer when I was playing the earlier versions, and like just the car physics and stuff are way more fun. Like it was what you wanted from one of these games, like just T-boning a car and he goes flying up in the air, fucking debris everywhere. It's totally the Destruction Derby flat out thing that you wanted. And I don't know, as they sort of refined the sort of mechanics and the car physics, like everything felt more weighty. And like you just didn't, by the time it came out, like I felt like you couldn't have these like epic wrecks and stuff. It just seemed more like a generic racer. I mean, you could still get in wrecks, and maybe it's just the initial class of cars that you could play with aren't like beefy and fast enough for you to really get some like epic wrecks. But it was a weird case where I just liked it better, like the earlier version. Like I wish I could play that earlier build of the game because I just found it way more fun. It was exactly what I wanted from that type of game. And so I don't know, maybe you'll pick it up on a Steam sale or something else at one point. It's not a bad game. It just, like I said, had I maybe not ever played the earlier version by the time it came out. And it was also one of those things where I didn't even know they were still making it because I had pre-ordered that or bought the early version of it, the early access version of it, like I want to say like 2012 or 2013, and they just did the official release of it last year. And I didn't even know they were still making it, to be honest, because I would get emails periodically about like updates to it. And so I was legitimately shocked when they said the game was like officially releasing. I'm like, oh, you guys are still making this 4 or 5 years later? Like, who gives a shit about this anymore? You know what I mean?
Okay, we mentioned this many times before. It pisses me the fuck off. It's all these goddamn open world, endless activity simulators that just never end. It's just, there's more shit on the map to do, and it doesn't amount to anything. There's no value. It feels very lazy in terms of game design. You have like an 8-hour campaign, and then you have 8,000 activities on the fucking map. And almost every game is doing this now. And it's just driving me up the fucking wall.
Yeah, the problem is like, I love open world games. That's my favorite genre. But even I'm getting a little bit exhausted with some of this stuff. Like, I would be fine with it if people would just have like a reasonable amount of shit. Like this, Assassin's Creed is the worst offender. Like I'm probably already just going to bounce off Odyssey because it's just too much shit. It's just too much. And like, can I just like do an open world game that I can complete in like 30, 40 hours? Like I'd be fine with that. But not this like 100 to 200 hours. Like maybe if it's something like The Witcher or like Cyberpunk 2077, like a special game like that you want like a lot of content that you know is probably going to be valuable. You know, like The Witcher 3 had a shit ton of content. It took me 200 hours to do everything in that game, but I loved all of it. It's just when it's this bolted on, like just repetitive, go take over this base now, go clear out this fucking thing. It just gets kind of boring. Like, go collect this. Like, if it's meaningful side missions and side stories and quests that sort of, add to the world building and stuff and add character and flavor to everything, like I'm okay with that. But a lot of this is just, let's put as much fucking shit in here so people won't, if people feel like they're getting the $60 value of the game and they won't just rent it or buy it and trade it back in immediately.
Well, like I said earlier, Rage 2, I'm going to vent about it, but Rage 2 is a huge offender when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm.
There's
I actually don't agree. I mean, I do to a certain, I think it's a little bit more reasonable than most open world games.
Okay.
Like you can do everything in under like 40 or 50 hours.
Okay. This is the end of the topic. We're going right into Rage now. This is what the fuck we're playing this week, starting right now. Okay, Rage 2, here we go. Let's go. Let me hear your like elevator speech for it.
Oh no, you're gonna start this one off.
I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna start it. Okay, so you know what this is like to me. This game, I was looking forward to it. I love post-apocalyptic games. I was ready to just dive into this and sink my teeth into it, but it reminded me of like wanting a pop, like a Coke or something, going to the fridge, opening it up, taking a sip, and it's fucking flat, and you're like, "Fuck, this is like all the pop's flat. This is a piece of shit." So you just like whip it against the wall and splashes everywhere. And I just feel like this game was just a waste, a fucking waste. The second I turned it on, I was like, is this Doom? It sounds like Doom. It looks like Doom. The person moves like it's the Doom Marine or the Predator or whatever the hell, the Praetor or whatever the hell it was called. But it's just, it feels like the same game reskinned with Mad Max stuff. And it's just so fucking lazy. So fucking lazy.
Yes, I get what you're saying, but I just don't fully agree. Like, I'm actually enjoying this game. I think a lot more than most people. I do have some major problems with it, but overall, I'm having a blast with it for the most part. But I don't know, like, what's this, other than you're saying that it's kind of uninspired, like, what's your biggest, I don't know, what's making you not like it the most?
So I'll preface this by saying I beat this game last week. The campaign was like 4 hours long, and I've done maybe like 60% of the open world map, which is all just fucking activities over and over again. And I haven't even been to certain parts of the map. It's empty because I haven't even been there. There's no reason to go there. But that's one of my gripes. But my biggest gripe is that I don't find the combat to be that fun.
How can you say that is like the only thing. It seems like everyone, even if you don't like this game, everyone agrees the combat is super fucking fun, and I love it. I absolutely love the combat.
All I ever used was the assault rifle, and I had all the guns. I used other guns, and I found them too cumbersome. Like there's the one where you like shoot these like darts at people, and then you aim off. Finger. No, and then you aim off to the side or whatever, and it like flings them over to it like it's a gravity well. Like,
oh yeah, I don't have that one yet.
It's fucking stupid. It's just like this. I'm getting killed while I'm trying to like peg darts on these people to have them fling across the map. It's just a stupid fucking gun. And there's a couple other guns that are dumb too, like the one you just mentioned. It's like a Magnum that you shoot people and you snap, and it catches them on fire. It takes way more to kill people with that stupid ass gun. It's just...
Yeah, I don't... but the shotgun, honestly, might be the greatest shotgun game. Like, you can't say the shotgun's not fucking good. That shit feels so goddamn good.
It's fine.
It's not fine. It's fucking good, bro.
I didn't find the shotgun to be special at all. I was just like, whatever, cool.
That might be my favorite shotgun in any game, to be honest with you. But I kind of get what you're saying. When it comes to the combat, I definitely don't agree at all. Like, I love the fucking ground slam, popping people up, sliding around, fucking meleeing a dude against the wall, pulling out a shotgun, fucking blasting a dude off the side of this building, just fucking pulling out this thing and shooting this guy's head off and throwing a grenade and a bunch of bodies and limbs go flying.
You make this, I don't know, you make this sound like it's Bulletstorm, and it's not. Like, Bulletstorm was over the top.
I don't know. I haven't played Bulletstorm in a long time, but that's what this reminded me of when I started playing it. And I think it's very much in that same vein. It's like Doom and Bulletstorm kind of mixed together in a way. I mean, they don't like sort of They don't demand you do like creative, like chain together all these combos like Bulletstorm does, but you can totally do that by how you play. The only complaint I would say about the combat, even though I'm playing it on the mouse and keyboard, so I'm playing it on PC, is that between all the powers and the weapons, like you can, it's kind of hard, like hitting all the different things. Like this is the slide, and this is like the thing you got to do to the ground pound, and like what button is it gets. It's almost a bit convoluted at a certain point once you get all these different guns and all these different abilities. So like smoothly do them all and make things look cool, but when you do, I don't know. I just can't get enough of the combat. I think one of the only major gripes I have with this game is like you have to drive to the places to get the combat going, which is fine for the most part. But I don't know. Like when I first started playing the game, the intros it's pretty quick. It gets you into it, but I wasn't super impressed. I was like, I don't know. And then they throw you out into the open world. And, I think you do what everyone does when they get a new open world game. You want to see, you want to explore and kind of feel out what this game's going to be like, what the structure's going to be, what the shooting and mechanics and driving and all this stuff is going to feel like. So I did that, and I was kind of making my way up to the first story mission, and I was just kind of doing everything along the way. And so the first night I was playing, I was kind of like, this is kind of generic, not really super exciting. But once I got to the sort of the main story missions, like when I did I think it was Wasteland Celebrity or whatever it is. Like that was what kind of sold me on the game too. Like I like the scripted story main missions, but
Really?
yeah, they're pretty fun. I liked the whole Mutant Bash TV thing, and the race is like whatever. I mean, it's kind of cool to have like a little distraction, and then going back and meeting what's his name and all that. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, it's that they don't have enough story missions. Like another of my main problems is there's not enough. Like there should be more meaningful like side content, like side quests or side stories that would really flesh this out. Like you can get through the main story stuff in like 6 hours just or something like that. I don't know. It's like you can get through it really fast, and then it's like you said, it's fucking 40 hours of open world bullshit after that. But I don't know. Some of it's fun. Like I just kind of went back and forth on this game where I was kind of feeling it, and then I kind of wasn't. And then I think it's really when I got over into the sort of swamp area where it's like you're just like taking out those bases with like the hillbilly guys and stuff like that. Where it's just kind of like that aesthetic of like the swampy bayou sort of post-apocalyptic, hillbillies, and you're just running through there killing them and stuff. Like, I don't know, that whole little area there I thought was like kind of nicely laid out where you could like bounce back and forth, like doing bases and little activities and stuff like that. Like that's when you first start fighting the what are they, the authority robots and stuff like that. Like I don't know, that part of the map was like really fun, so I was kind of sold by the time I got there. But yeah, I mean, you can get lost in the weeds just running around like doing all the fucking checkboxy stuff. So I don't know,
but there's no reason to do it. Like I didn't.
Yeah.
Like you're getting money, you're getting this other shit. You find chests, and it's like, so what? Now I can upgrade a little bit and do a little bit more. It gets to a point where you have to crank the difficulty up to max for it to even be difficult. Because I even tried it. I put on easy near the end of the game, and you're literally one-shotting everybody with the assault rifle. Like one bullet from the assault rifle's killing people in one shot. It's just the difficulty is weird. It doesn't scale properly. It doesn't feel good. It feels too easy. But it's, for me, I could not get invested in it because the game it doesn't have its own identity. It just feels like a mishmash of all the other games, and all the other games that it's stealing from do it better. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely amalgamation of Doom, Borderlands, Bulletstorm, Mad Max, all that stuff. I mean, it's definitely all that stuff. But I still find it fun, man. I'm still not. Like I'm still kind of enjoying it. I mean, you can definitely get into a lull where you start. It's just really all depending on what kind of gamer you are. Like if you're the type like me and you, where you have OCD about fucking completing everything and going around and feeling like you have to do everything, because like I said, the game is like, this is not like 100-hour game, so I feel like I'm probably going to do everything. I'm definitely clearing out the map right now. So I don't know, if you're not like OCD about that kind of stuff and you could just play like a reasonable amount of time with this game, like maybe 20 hours or something like that, you could probably have the best time doing that. But I don't know, there's just certain little things like I don't like the side missions where it's like go into these mutant nests and clear out all these things, and there's always one hidden somewhere that you can't goddamn find, and they keep spawning in. The goddamn little mutant things running around chasing you. Those kind of annoy me. The sentry turret things are real fucking dumb. Those are literally the dumbest thing in the fucking game. But and my other main gripe too is once you go through the bases and then you have to find those like pink chests until you get the upgrade later on where it kind of you have the little radar thing that'll kind of point you in the direction where they're at. Like it's just like you go through and you have this awesome 5 to 10 minutes of like fun combat, and then it's over, and you have to like search through this whole base, like where are these fucking pink chests? Where's this data pad? Where's this fucking art crate thing?
But again, like we're picking it up for nothing. There's no reason to really pick it up. It's useless.
I mean, kind of, but not. I don't know. I don't really agree with that completely. But the one thing I would like to say about that though is like because I feel like you do need to play a lot and do a lot of the extra stuff to get the upgrades, get the weapons, get the abilities, and get enough of the whatchamacallit to sort of
reputation
keep upgrading. Yeah, to keep getting your weapons and abilities up and stuff like that. But how easy do you think it would be to play through this game? And like I said, instead of doing everything or most of it in like 40 to 50 hours, if you just got like a 20-hour experience, like would you struggle if you just like skipped a lot of the stuff? Like could you get through the game, you think? Like how much of this do you think you could conceivably skip and still have like a decent time with it if you were into it?
It's hard to say because you have to do activities to raise the reputation up to the point of getting that next mission. So I don't know like if it's level 5 or you have to get everyone to level 10. My people were at like level 12 and 13 when I beat the game. I don't know. It's just like in Canada, that game cost me $90. So
yeah,
to me, in Canadian, it's only worth like $30. So
yeah.
You know what? I'm going to admit it right here, right now. I probably wasn't going to say anything about this, but the second I beat it, I fucking packaged it back up and I sent it back to Amazon as a return. So I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see if they give me my fucking money back as a refund. Like I don't.
Well, if you open it, they probably won't.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I've never done it before, but I'm like, fuck this. I'm gonna see if I can get my money back because it's not worth full admission.
Well, it's kind of like falls under GameStop rules where once it's open, you're only going to get the trade-in value. So you'll get some Amazon credit, like maybe even like $30 or $40 for it. But
well, I'll report back with what happens. It should be interesting.
Yeah.
So
a couple other things like I was saying about finding. Did that not annoy you too? Like trying to find. I mean, like I said, you don't need them all, but if you want to be the fucking OCD person that's like going through and getting all the pink chests and all that shit, like some of them are just like hidden in like way out of the way places, and some of them are hidden in like dark corners. Like the game almost needs like a flashlight where you can just like look at some stuff. There's some parts that's like really dark for reasons I don't understand.
There's no reason to have them hidden. You know how you can see through walls when you like do the focus thing? You can see things. It should just outline them.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But another one of my main problems with the game is like you don't get most of the abilities and weapons until way later in the game. Like I'm 30 hours in and I still don't have all the abilities and weapons. It's like I should have my fucking arsenal by now.
But
now I know I could go.
Yeah, you go to the arcs.
Yeah, I know that. But I'm saying there's some that don't show up until later. Like there's some that I only know about because I looked at a video last night because I'm like I said, I'm about like 30, 35 hours into it. And I'm like, why don't I have 4 guns in my fucking arsenal right now? So I guess the next thing I'm going to do is go finish getting all the arcs just so I'll have everything to play with. It just seems kind of dumb to not. I mean, like I said, it's all dependent on how you play the game and the pace you're taking it. But 30 hours in, I should have all my fucking weapons by now. I should have all my abilities.
I don't disagree with that. I feel like near the end of the game, I was getting a whole bunch of stuff I could have used in the beginning. But like whatever. I just the game, like I didn't find the graphics that impressive. I had a whole bunch of glitches, like enemies are falling through walls. I was driving my car and then my guns just didn't work anymore. That happened a couple times, and there was a time where the guns stopped working. I jumped out of my car and I just fell through the whole world for no reason. And this has never happened to me before, but I was just playing the game. I paused it and my whole system just shut off. Like hard shutdown. It just shut off for no reason.
Yeah. I had a couple crashes on PC, but that's kind of normal. But Yeah, I mean, I've had a few things like the audio not working properly a couple times. Where,
Yeah,
like,
mine did that too.
like 80% of the sounds and dialogue wasn't in there. I didn't have a whole lot of issues, like technical issues, but yeah, I'm glad I played on PC because yeah, the console versions, even if you're playing on the Xbox One X or the PlayStation Pro, it's only running at 1080p. They're going for the 60 frames per second. So I mean, I like the aesthetic, the overblown pink and like yellow and stuff like that. I know it's like not original whatsoever, but I don't know. I still got into the visual style of this game quite a bit. Like I was really digging it, and so yeah, I mean, so yeah, you probably played a lesser version. Like on PC, it looks better, and I'm able to crank it up all the way to like 4K and stuff like that, and it's a little bit smoother experience. So I watched some comparison videos the other day between like PC and the Xbox and PlayStation, and I get why people say it's not like a head turner. I mean, it's not the most gorgeous game, but I thought it looked plenty good enough. Like I said, I like the style and everything. I'm digging it a lot more than you are in that sense too. But I don't know. I mean, it does. It's weird because it's using the Mad Max engine, like the Avalanche's own engine, which is kind of crazy that because I thought this was running on like an id Tech engine or something like that because of how well they're able to sort of capture that feel of like a Doom or something like that. But no, it's running on Avalanche's engine. I think the way they sort of scaled it to handle first person and all this stuff, but you can still see sort of some underlying things in there that they're carried over from Mad Max. But I don't know. I just put this sort of in the same vein as Mad Max. It was kind of the same thing when you think about it. It's just a monotonous like go around, take bases, driving this pretty barren open world. And you're just like kind of checklisting shit. I don't know. Like I just don't think like I liked Mad Max, but it was like fucking generic open world, the fucking video game. I don't know. I feel like this is exactly the same thing. It's just a first person shooter with it's like pink as shit. I don't know.
Yeah, it is basically the same thing. I loved Mad Max, and I did everything in that game you could possibly do, like every single activity, 100%. And I don't know why. I think I love that game more because I love the Mad Max franchise, and I love just driving around. Like I like the car combat in that, as opposed to in this game, it's very vanilla. Like you don't really do anything.
I guess that's what we got to talk about too, is the car combat in this.
There's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I finally did one of the little convoy things the other night. Like I've always just kind of missed them. Like they always drive by when I'm like doing something else. I finally ran into one and did it. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
Even Mad Max was way better in that sense. And like even the open world itself, like just driving around, which is probably fine. I mean, you'll see little pockets of enemies and stuff, but there's really nothing to do in the open world other than to drive to the different places and clear out the bases and do this and that, find this dead ranger guy and all this shit. But I don't know. So some people are criticizing the open world, but I'm like, well, it's post-apocalyptic, and like I don't really need more fucking distractions in this game. Like it's not even worthwhile to get out of your car and fight people. And it's just like you occasionally run into like a few other enemy cars that you'll just like shoot down real quick. There's nothing to it. So yeah, in that sense, I'm disappointed that we're just never gonna get a game with any kind of interesting car combat in it ever again.
I guess not. Like even the races, when you go do the Monster Bash races or whatever the hell it is, like it's just a fucking racing game. Like you don't get to shoot anybody or nothing. Just why is this in the game? Why is this in the game? I don't need it.
Well, it was a thing that was carried over from the first one. I mean, I do think this expands on the ideas of the first game in really clever ways. I think I'd have to go back and really look at a lot of stuff. I think even some of the scripted, like structured story missions in the first game were maybe even better than this. But I don't know. I enjoyed the sort of set PC moments of the story. I just wish there had been more of them.
You know what? There's only so many times I can kill Keith Flint from The Prodigy over and over again. Like that. It was just him copy and pasted everywhere in this game. You know what? Actually, the best part of this was seeing all the random names of people in the towns, like Blammo McMoose and Bogus Big Feet.
Yeah, the characters did have cool names if you like hovered over them, like the reticle over them. And it's like, man, like I wish some of these were like actual characters that had fucking like I said before, like I wish there was more like side quests that were a little bit more meaningful. The amount of like storied, like meaningful content with characters is like so small in this game. It's just, I
just felt like it's just a generic thing. Like we got to go kill this guy and we got to get the band back together and blah, just wah, like boring. I'm not interested in anything that's happening Wasted effort.
So the only other thing that I have a problem with in this game that you're probably not care about, but I just wanted to touch on real quick, is the photo mode. I was really looking forward to this because Mad Max is a game that sort of kicked off my fascination with taking photos in video games, and they had like a really dope photo mode in that game. And so because this is the same engine, I was like, oh yeah, spend a lot of time in the photo mode, and I have, but man, there's just a few things that are just egregious, like horrible cardinal sins of photo modes. Like, for one, they don't have but one filter, which is just insane to me. And then also, when you go into photo mode and pull back, like in the action, like your actual character model is not there, so you can't get these like really cool looking shots of the combat, which is like the coolest thing in the game. Like, as soon as you pan out, like your character model just disappears, and the only time you ever see them is when you're in the vehicles. So I don't know, that's just the thing where like you could get these like really cool shots where you're like shotgunning some dude and blowing him apart, and like they totally just dropped the ball on that. So I don't know if they're ever going to actually change the photo mode. Probably not. It's probably not a priority. But yeah, I was just kind of upset with that. But that's just a personal thing. So
I don't think the game was a priority, to be honest.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't hate it as you. I get the criticisms. I've watched a ton of reviews on this game now just to see what the general temperature of the room was as far as what people think about it. But I'm not saying this is something you should rush out and pick up right now. It's one of those things that you could probably get on like a Steam sale, or when it's like $20-$30 down the road. I think it's totally a fun game in that sort of price range, but I'm enjoying it more than most people, obviously. But I think it's just doing a lot of things that I really like, and less things that I don't like.
I agree with the price range. My suggestion is just go watch the trailers, because it has the Andrew WK songs that amp it up, and just doesn't live up to the hype. Not even with the NBA Jam announcer. Like, man.
Yeah. All right, so the next thing I played last week was Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time. This person I've been hanging out with lately. We're trying to find things to play together, kind of figuring out what our gaming relationship is going to be like. So I'm trying to find some like co-op-y games to play. So I've been wanting to try this for a while. I just haven't had anybody to play it with. But it's a 2 to 4 player co-op. I don't even know what genre you would put this in. I just sort of made up a genre, which is a 2D bullet hell light game. I don't know. But it's like procedurally generated stages, 5 levels. They're sort of broken out into 5 stages, like 4 normal and then 1 boss fight. You're kind of just flying this ship around, and you have, like I said, like 2 to 4 people are on this little circular ship, and you're just kind of flying around this really colorful world. It almost has the same like color palette as Rage in a way, like lots of hot neon pinks and yellows and stuff like that, blues and purples. But you're basically just flying this little ship around. You have like different parts of the ship. Like, one person can drive, and then one person can be in charge of shields, and then you have like a sort of 1 mega weapon that goes around, that circles around your ship, and then you have like 4 turrets off to the side. And so it's kind of fun because you're both trying to like work together and strategically do things. Like, I'll drive and you grab the shield, and okay, I'll take the left turret and the top turret, you take the bottom and the right. And then like, oh shit, move the shield over here, like enemies coming in and stuff like that. So it's fun. Like, it's just a fun, like sort of a little bit more casual game to just sort of play. And like I said, you're kind of working together, flying the ship around. You're trying to pick up these animal people. You're just saving these different little animal people. There's like 5 of them per level that you're supposed to get, but you can get up to like 10 if you fully go around, exploring the entire level. But you only need 5 to sort of pass, and then you can leave. But yeah, you got, there's 3, and then you have like these little gems that you can collect, 3 different gems that you can sort of slot into the different parts of the ship for different like weapon types and stuff like that. So there's like pink, yellow, and blue are the sort of gems thingies that you put in there, and you can put 2 pink ones in the turret, and it makes like a really rapid fire turret. Or you can slot in a pink and a yellow, and it kind of gives you like a slow moving like chain gun like thing almost. So it's all about like slotting. You're kind of leveling up as you go, and you kind of level up your ship a little bit, where you have different spaces for different gems. Like, you can put 2 gems instead of 1 at the beginning and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of variety in the types, some unique objectives. It's not just kind of the same thing over and over again. But it's a really fun little co-op game. We had a lot of fun playing through it. It's casual enough where you could probably play it with almost anybody. It doesn't require a lot of dual stick skills or anything like that. Have you played this game?
Yeah, I recommend it too. It's actually really fun. I played it with 4 people, and I played it with 2. 4 people is too easy because you have somebody flying it, you have someone with the shields, you have 2 people doing the guns, and it's just too easy. I found that 2 people was like the right amount of difficulty to make it fun.
Yeah, the only time it got a little crazy with 2 was the last boss. We had a little bit of trouble getting through that. Seemed like 3 would have been the way to sort of breeze through that last boss, because we definitely had to try it probably 8 to 10 times, I think, before we got through it, maybe more. But yeah, but I think 2 is definitely the right number to play this.
It's definitely a fun game. I would recommend it too.
Yeah, so I got it. I think it was like free on it was one of those free games that they gave away on Xbox Live like sometime back last year. So I had it downloaded on my Xbox. I just never played it, so I don't really know how much it costs if you were to just go buy it. But yeah, it's a fun little party game, little co-op game. Highly recommend it.
I would suggest trying Overcooked if you haven't yet. That's like a relationship destroyer. I've played that with 4 people, and we've been like great friends for over 20 years, and we were just yelling, swearing, like attacking each other. It was like it's hilarious and super fun, but it just turns you into a fucking psycho because it's just
like how good would it? I mean, it's definitely on the list of things I'm going to try, but how is it like essential, or is it like better to have 4, or can you get away with 2?
You can do 2. You can do 2. The difficulty changes. Like you won't have to do as many things with 2 people as you would with 4. The game probably does get a little too difficult near the end of the game because it does get really insane. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because it's like a puzzle game mixed with like trying to do things as fast as possible, and you're trying to figure this out and that. And it's just it requires a lot of coordination. It's just fun. I found it really fun.
We're kind of bouncing around a lot the past couple weeks, just like trying different things, just trying to find games that we're both into or would be fun. I don't know. I played a lot of weird stuff. Like we started the first Injustice, started playing through that, and that was like kind of the level of stupid that I was looking for from one of those games. It was even dumber than Mortal Kombat, and it was cheesy because it was like a last gen game. So I was really digging how shitty it was, and we were fucking laughing up a storm at that. She was playing through God of War. I sort of went over there and like hijacked her game one day. Ended up playing through like 3 hours of God of War again, and it made me want to start that game all over again. Highly recommend God of War. Fucking fantastic game. We fired up Crimson Dragon the other night to see what that stupid piece of shit game was. It was like, it's all right. So that's been kind of bouncing around a lot. Is there anything else you've been playing this week?
I actually beat Spider-Man. And
what's the final verdict on that?
Awesome game. I didn't like all the activities. I did the majority of it. Like I was at 93% of the game's completion. I loved the story. I loved how they had so many villains in it and other characters. I thought their writing was great. I really liked Dr. Octopus's story. I could relate to it because of my dad. I don't want to give spoilers away, but there's similarities between Dr. Octopus and what happened to my dad. And I was like, wow, that's such a cool thing. Like, what if my dad could have had that stuff? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. I could sympathize with it. And I don't know. I just had so much fun because I thought it was just going to be the one villain, and then it just went to the next level at one point. And I was like, holy fuck, like I didn't know we were going to see this. You know what I mean?
Some of those boss fights where you're fighting like 2 of them at the same time was really cool.
So innovative. Those boss fights, I thought, like, even though they're not like amazing, I just thought they did a good job pulling out like what makes that villain special in terms of attacks and stuff, and turning that into a boss fight with them. Like the Rhino and Scorpion one I thought was kind of fun, and they don't like each other, so they're making fun of each other as you're fighting them, and like I don't know, there's a lot of love and care put into that game, and I loved it. I really did like that game. It's great.
Yeah, like I said before, my only complaint was really just some of the side activities are completely boring. But other than that, it's pretty fucking great. And the only other thing I played was Dynamite Fishing World Games, which is basically
the fuck is that?
It's this mobile game from like 2014, I believe, because I think I looked it up last night. I think it's from like 2014. I was kind of getting that feel. We were just like going through the marketplace one day, and we were just like watching trailers and looking at different stuff, and it just looked like kind of stupid. And it was like $2 or $3. I'm like, I'll just buy this. This will be like a funny joke game. And we ended up playing it for a little while the other night. It has like a little story mode where you're just going through. You're basically, I don't know, this is like a cartoonish looking thing. It's like a side scroller. You're going through and you're just dropping dynamite down in the water and trying to kill all these fish. And you're competing against another AI. But you have like a special, almost like Twisted Metal or something like that, where you build up this meter and you get a special that like depending on what character you're playing, there's like 5 characters and there's different shits you can pick from. And you're just kind of like, I don't know, you're playing this like heavy metal kind of guy, and so he just drops lightning on the fucking water and kills a bunch of fish. And there's like little sort of special weapons that you pick up and stuff like that, like an anvil that you can drop on people, or a shrink ray, or stuff you can throw just like a nuke that sort of just like blows up all the fish around you. And so we were playing through a little bit of the main sort of story mode, or like it's just basically going through like cups, like, you know, almost like a racing game. And then we spent a lot of time in the multiplayer, just like co-op, like competing against each other. Like you're basically just going through, you're just running down this river and stuff like that, going from like basically left to right on the screen, going through different screens and stuff like that, just trying to kill more fish than your opponent, and trying to sabotage their shit. Like sometimes you can use this little vacuum and suck up some of their fish, just trying to get to the end and trying to see who has the most fish. It's real dumb and stupid, but it was kind of a fun, just like whatever thing for like $2 or $3. So I don't know if I recommend it per se, but I mean, like I said, I got it for like $2 or $3. It was a few hours of fun. I might even go back to it, to be honest with you. It's like enough there. I can just milk some achievements off of it probably. But yeah, it was kind of fun. I don't know. It's just like a weird thing I just wanted to throw in there.
Sounds like you got your money's worth.
Yeah, I did.
But the question is, were there microtransactions?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think the mobile game probably would have had them. Like you can see where that was built into it. Maybe there's like, you know, a currency in the game, and like if you actually crash your ship, or your ship gets too damaged when you're playing through the single player, like you have to pay money to like fix it so you can keep going in that level. And so I'm wondering if you it feels like the mobile version would have had somewhere like you're out of money, pay real money to get the in-game money to keep going. But I didn't really run into that in the Xbox version, so I don't think it has any egregious stuff. But maybe if I play it for a little bit longer. Like I said, none of that really came into play in the multiplayer. The single player, I don't know. I played it long enough to feel like it doesn't have anything like that. I don't remember seeing a store to buy anything, so probably not. But yeah, it's right up there with just like something stupid you could play with your friends, like in the same way that, you know, Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time, or, Overcooked. It's just like a dumb little cartoony whatever game. So I don't know.
Cool. I'll never play it.
Yeah. I'm surprised I did. Q&A. If you have any questions you want to ask us, have an interesting topic that you want to pitch, or want to be part of the show, send us an email at bastardsgamingnetwork@gmail.com, or message us on the Bastards of Gaming Facebook group. Born Slippy Toad asks, do you ever regret the amount of time you spent gaming in your life? I have a bit to say on this, but I'll throw it to you first to see what your feelings are.
You know, I spend a lot of my time doing productive things, so like I want to unwind and just chill out, have fun, do something amusing. So I don't regret any of the time I've spent gaming. There's been games that I regret playing, so there's that time, certain times there, but ultimately I don't find it a waste of time. Everybody consumes some sort of like art and entertainment, right? So this is what I do. I consume music and movies and video games. So
no, I'm with you there, but I was without getting too personal, you know, I was not in a good place some months ago after a lot of things happened to me last year, and that was like a thought that I did have for a little while. You know, I think it's part of one of those things of getting older and not really feeling like my life has really amounted to anything in any important way. As someone who grew up like a very artistic person, I've never really done much with that. And, I used to play music. I used to do a lot of art. So I did have those thoughts a couple times. Like I did have a thought, like, I mean, more than once over the course of like a couple months that like, maybe I should just like literally sell all my video game stuff I have and spend the time that I spend doing this, like doing something else. Because if you add up all the time that I've spent in my entire life playing video games, and if I would apply that to literally anything else, like a skill or a talent or something that maybe I could, have made money off of or whatever, like maybe I would have a more fulfilling or better life than I do right now. So I did have that thought a few times. It's just like a weird thing. I've never really thought that way until the last year. Like I said, I don't know if it's just me getting older. Because, we had that thing in the news about, we were kind of joking around about a gaming addiction. I don't think I'm like that. But I can say for sure that there are times in my life that I've spent more time gaming than I probably should have. I don't know. It was just like a way to escape. Like sometimes it was a way to escape shitty things that were going on in my life, just to kind of melt into a video game. Or when I was going through a lot of shit months ago, me being able to get online and play games with you guys and just like forget about shit and just kind of laugh and cut up was very like therapeutic in a way. So I mean, it's not like it was all bad. But yeah, I just think about that sometimes. Like I said, I used to play a lot of music. Sometimes I wish I'd have just concentrated on that. Like, so I've had the weird fantasy of like sometimes I kind of wish I was born before video games were a thing, because if like they just weren't there, I would never be tempted by them. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure I would always find something else to do with my time, but I mean, just things like I used to read books all the time, and now I don't. Like, if I have downtime now, I mean, I watch some movies or some TV shows also, but yeah, it's mostly like gaming. Whenever I have a free moment, sometimes it would just I think my time would be better spent doing something else, as fun as it is. So,
But you
I don't know.
could still devote other time to other things. You could say, okay, once or twice a week, I'm going to start reading a book. You could slot it in.
Yeah, I mean, I did try that for a while, and I have such a hard time reading anymore, man. Like I bought some books again, like some months ago, and I think I got through like the first chapter of one of them, and my mind would just like, I think I broke my brain where I spend like I'm even like a multitasker now. Like I'm so used to just having my phone in my hand and like doing other things. Like I'm playing a video game while watching YouTube content or like listening to music while doing this. And like the thought of just like sitting there in kind of silence and like reading a book, it was so hard to just like calm my brain down to do it. I think I'm just so used to like listening to music or podcast or watching YouTube content or like watching a TV show or whatever. I feel like there's like all kinds of stuff going on. But even beside that, yeah, it's just like I don't know. I have trouble doing stuff like were the thousands of hours I spent playing Halo over the last, I don't know, fucking 18 years or whatever, was some of that were really worth it. Like, I don't know. I mean, it was good times and I had fun with my friends, but like, I don't know, man. It's just one of those things. Like, I guess I just have this thing with myself where as an artistic person, I kind of always wanted to, sort of leave something behind, where like I wanted to create something, whether it was an album or something. I've just never really done that. And I mean, that was a small part of the reason why I started doing this gaming podcast with you, is like I just wanted to do something like creative and fun and different than everything else I was kind of doing in my life, even though it revolves around gaming. So it's kind of the same thing in a way. But yeah, I don't know. It's just been a weird thing in the last couple of years or so, where I've really thought about that, like where I almost like not really ashamed to be a gamer. Obviously, I mean, I love it, but I just think there's been certain points in my life where I could have done more if I'd have just stopped like falling into games to sort of deal with my problems, or like just forget, you know what I mean? And just done other things. I don't know.
You could still start today and do other stuff. You could pick up a guitar again and just play.
Well, I did have a game plan to do that last year until like a bunch of stuff happened, and I just got other ducks to get in a row before that can happen again. But it's on the docket. Hopefully, it's something I'm gonna work on. I just got a couple other things to get together here soon, which I feel like some other things are coming together for me. I just got to work a lot in the future here, and that's going to be kind of what this year is going to be for me, is more work than anything. But yeah, I don't know. It has been a thing that I've, like I said, I've thought about. Have I spent too much gaming time? And I don't know. I mean, I could probably say a definitive yes. I mean, like I said, I don't regret all of it. I don't know. I kind of feel that way sometimes. It's weird. I don't know.
Okay, well, you can look at it in a whole bunch of other ways. You could say that you spend a lot of time hanging out with people you like. That's no different than like hanging out with someone at your house or having someone over for dinner. That's a huge thing.
Yeah, that's the best. I mean, that's the greatest justification for it, as far as like I would say in the last 5 to 10 years, because I've spent more time like. Yeah, I mean that's because I'm friends with you and some other people that I can't really hang out with in real life. That's the only way to do that. It's the only way to spend time with you guys is playing a game. That's definitely a positive, and that's definitely not something I really regret. But just the times, especially when I think it's more when I was younger too. Like now, it's not like I play games all the time. Like I haven't really played that much in the last week. Sometimes I'll go hard on a game, like if I'm super into it. Like when Red Dead came out, I put way too much time into that in that month that I was playing through it. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, I have it under control. I'm doing other things, but just if you look at my whole timeline of going back to like high school and shit, like especially my younger years when I was just being a fuck up in my early 20s, like I could have been doing something else with my time, I think, for the most part. So I don't know.
Well, you could have picked something worse, possibly.
Well, I did worse things too. Sometimes I could say like gaming was maybe a savior for me in a way too. You know, like I did that instead of doing other things that I could have done. So it hasn't all been bad. But I just look at it like I said, if I put all the time that I spent playing games into like literally mastering an instrument, I could probably have a completely different life now, you know?
Sure.
But it's just a weird way to look at it.
I'm a big believer of if you wanted to actually do something, you would do it. So,
yeah,
like if you've been gaming this whole time, that's what you've enjoyed doing. You know, if you actually wanted to master an instrument, you would have done it. Like, I'm not saying that you don't have it in you, but it's not everyone is willing to do certain things. So I don't think you should feel guilty because you feel like you might be missing out or you could have been more or done something different or whatever it is you feel. I think you shouldn't beat yourself up over that because you would have done it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I haven't always made the best choices, but I don't want to get too far into my whole depressing life circumstances and everything that's happened to me over the years and all the bad decisions and regrets I have. But I thought it was interesting because I remember it's just so weird that this showed up as a question because like I said, it was just something I haven't really thought about too much lately, but it was one of those like, what if I just sold all my shit that's like non-essential and just like moved to a different town and like just started my life over? You know what I mean? And just like it was one of those moments where you're just like, what if I just literally changed everything right now? Where would that take me? You know what I mean?
You'd move to a new town, be bored because you know nobody, and start playing video games again. I think that's the cycle.
Probably. But yeah, it's one of those things like, you know, I think everyone's been there in their life where they're just like, what's the easiest way to just fucking start over? Because I've lived in the same place for like most of my life. Like all my memories are here. Everything's here. And it's just like, what if I just left? You know what I mean? Just started over. Probably wouldn't make my life any better. But it's one of those things that you just like have this irrational thought sometimes in your brain when you're just like feeling like you're stuck and in a rut in life. And you're like, what can I do? Like, what if I just literally changed everything about my life? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Okay, let me take this in a different direction then to like get you out of your funk here. But think of the things that you've taken out of video games, like that you got out of it. So some things that I thought of were like I've learned things about history or I've experienced things that made me want to learn more about something that actually happened in real life. So I did research on it. You know what I mean? You experience things that you wouldn't otherwise be exposed to. You get other points of view, that sort of thing. You see things through another person's eyes. You know, that's a huge thing for gaming. And like you learn about like teamwork and strategy and hopefully some like social skills when you talk to people online, problem solving skills. You're always like trying to figure out how to do something better, how to squeeze more value out of something. If you're playing that type of game, like you're playing like a simulation game, like how to like balance an economy. I just read an article that was talking about EVE Online, and it says if you've played that game for X amount of hours, you basically have an MBA. So, because it's just like a huge spreadsheet or what is it? Yeah, was it spreadsheet? Excel. Yeah. So it's just like a huge like Excel spreadsheet type of game, and it's just like think about that sort of stuff. And a funny one I also thought of was like my vocabulary. Like, sure, you can read books, and I have read many books, but it's not like my biggest thing. But when you're reading all this dialogue and stuff like that in games, you're exposed to different words and things like that. So it's like there's like these little things that I got out of games that I wouldn't have gotten like just out of my regular life. Is there anything like that for you?
I mean, I would still say the best thing that ever came out of gaming was, all like you and all the people I met on Twisted Metal back in the day that have become like my best friends over the years. I mean, that's literally the best thing that's ever come out of it. Just everything that's gone along with that. And, I mean, there's probably certain little examples. Like, sure, I've learned a lot of stuff, and I mean, I don't mean to make it sound like I just feel completely bad about all the time I've spent. I just think like I could have. There's definitely times where I was in my life where I was playing games too much instead of doing like, you know, especially when it's like I could have been doing something productive and I wasn't. And I was just like, it's easier to just sit here and play this game. And then I think back to the times when I was like a fucking achievement whore and I was just playing shit games for achievements. And it's like, what was I even doing? Like, why was I even doing any of that shit? But yeah, I don't know. It's not, I mean, like I said, I don't feel like horrible about it, but it's just one of those things like, I've just never had like anything else in my life that's really like I've been proud of or felt great about. Like this sort of like counterbalance it, I guess. You know what I mean? Like I've always just kind of gone through life and just kind of doing whatever. I don't know. I've never had like a super well thought out game plan for anything.
You don't think a lot of people are like that? I would say majority of people are like that.
Yeah, to some degree, but it's a weird thing. But yeah, I just thought it was kind of weird because it's kind of when I saw this question, it's kind of hit me in the feels a little bit. I was like, that's something I probably would have never like. I probably would have had your answer probably a couple years ago, a few years ago. But yeah, it was just like a thing where you just get into a rut in your life and you're like, what am I even doing? Like, why am I sitting here playing this game? Like, shouldn't I be like learning something that I could get paid for, like developing a side hustle where I can make some money or something? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Sure, but then you just be burnt out. Like, what else do you do for your downtime other than watch TV and play games?
That's pretty much it.
Okay. So if you got rid of that, what would you be doing?
Something equally stupid, probably.
Yeah, so what difference does it make? You know what I mean? You already go to work. You already make money. Like, you want to burn the shit out of yourself just by, like, working all hours of the day to make money? What a life.
Well, sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate your positive outlook on it, but like I said, I'm not like I don't fucking really like regret it all. But I'm just saying, if I'm to be like completely 100% honest with myself, like if I'd have taken even like a third of the time I've spent gaming and applied that to literally anything else, I could probably maybe have something more to show for my life. I guess that's just my feelings, though.
Okay, no, it's okay.
All right. After that fucking bummer, let's talk about. Fucking Derek Mueller here ask, why didn't you guys bring up Zaxby's, Long John Silver's, Checkers, Popeyes, Five Guys, Marco's Pizza, Papa Murphy's Pizza, Krispy Kreme, White Castle, Dairy Queen, Chipotle, Steak and Shake, Cece's Pizza, and Crystal, and last week's food rankings, you fucking idiots.
Okay, come on. I mean, what's with this list? Like, we talked about this. Well, you basically talked about this for like half a fucking hour. And now we got to talk about it again. And this person gave us this like enormous goddamn list of more things. Like, I can't handle this. I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Well, I mean, I get it. I mean, some of these are like a valid concern. Like Zaxby's is a local thing. Okay. They're like a chicken joint. Pretty good. I should have put them on the list, but they're not like a nationwide thing. I didn't know if everyone would know that one. Long John Silver's is one I definitely overlooked. So good seafood. I like them. Any place that sells clam strips, I'm all about that shit. So I do love me some Long John Silver's. Checkers is another one I totally forgot about. Should have mentioned that because they have the best fries in the world, like literally the best fries, my favorite. Sadly, we don't have them around here anymore, but every time I go out of town, that's the first place I do is look for one. I tried Popeyes for the first time a couple weeks ago. We've never actually had one in my area until a couple months ago. One opened up. It was all right. Nothing to write home about. Marco's Pizza, I've really only been there once. Wasn't impressed with it. Papa Murphy's is one I actually like. We used to have a couple of them here. They're like the take and bake pizzas, where they kind of like put it all together for you, and then you take it home and make it yourself. But they have
what a concept.
Well, it's actually good because it sort of cuts down on the cost. If you're not like running ovens and you're having delivery drivers and all that stuff, like they had better ingredients. And then they would have some like really like seasonal shit. Like they had a taco pizza that was just to fucking die for. That was my favorite thing. Like every year, right around Cinco de Mayo, they would come back around with their taco pizza. So I was very fucking sad when they closed both of them down around here. Totally missed them. But I didn't mention stuff like Krispy Kreme and shit like that. It's just like a fucking donut place. Like who gives a shit? Like, like Dunkin' Donuts. Like who fucking cares? It's just like fucking whatever pastries and donuts. Like, I mean, I love Krispy Kreme donuts, but it's not worth like putting on the list. I just don't put it in the same category, really. White Castle is trash. Sorry. Everything they do is trash. Dairy Queen, I don't really go there that much. It's not that big of a deal to me. They have like a flamethrower burger that's pretty good, I guess. Chipotle is like in a weird place. It's not really I don't know. I just don't really consider it in the same like vein as like these sort of fast food. But I guess it is in there. I mean, I do like me some Chipotle. I do like me a barbacoa burrito from there. It's definitely delicious. Steak and Shake. I've literally only ate there once. It was fine. I don't know why I've never just eaten there. Just the one we have in town is like at a weird place where it's like I wouldn't go out of my way to go there. CC's Pizza I do kind of like, even though it's like trash, just buffet pizza. It's one of those places where they just put a bunch of pizzas in. You just go grab whatever off the buffet. I don't know if you've had any places like that where you live.
Yeah, there's some like that, and the pizza's usually super shitty. And it's all crust.
Yeah. This one's kind of shitty, but it's like shitty in like a good way. I don't know. Like it's like every now and then I'll go there and it's just like hits the spot. They have some really delicious like dessert pizzas too that I like. And Crystal is in the same vein of White Castle for me. It's just like a fucking nothing place. It doesn't fucking matter. So, okay, there, Derek Mueller. Some of your call outs were definitely on point, particularly Zaxby's, Long John's, and Checkers. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. It's all dependent. You know, some people got those California restaurants on their food rankings. Like I've never eaten at In-N-Out and all that stuff. Whataburger. So I don't know. It's just all about where you live. So yeah. I guess that's it. Hopefully, we're done with the food rankings. I mean, I'm not going to rank them. I'm just going to say my piece and move on because I'm kind of done with this too. So,
what a way to end the show!
What a way! Depressing talk and then more depressing talk about food.
Well, what are you going to go do for the rest of the night now?
Probably play some video games.